Good afternoon, everyone. It's September 11th, 2025, and this is the Town of Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. Pursuant to Governor Healy's March 28th, 2025, signing of Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, extending certain COVID measures adopted during the state of emergency, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law until June 30, 2027, this meeting of the Chatham Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted in person and via remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings provided for in the order. A reminder, persons who'd like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling 1-508-945-4410, conference ID 558-830-4#, or join the meeting via the link on the Microsoft Teams on the posted agenda. This is a live broadcast and simulcast on Chatham TV, but despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak to any issue or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. There will be a 3-minute time limit on all comments, and there will be a clock on the screen, just so you know. If you could also shut off any gadget that makes any noise whatsoever, that would be helpful. And if there's any good conversations to be had, please have them outside. First, we take a roll call vote of all members that suggest that we approve this meeting. And then after that, we ask all citizens and non-board members participating to make their identity known if you are calling in. The hearing notice is read by staff, Sarah Clark on my right. You or your representative will present your appeal or application. Anyone in favor will be able to speak. Oh, actually, it's 5 minutes. I'm sorry. The 3 minutes applies to another type of hearing we've been having. Anyone against the appeal or application may speak for up to 5 minutes as well. And then the applicant may rebut any testimony. Members of the board will have the opportunity to ask questions, hear further information. We close the public hearing, deliberate, and usually we vote on the merits of the appeal or applications, but sometimes we move to continue. But we take a vote in any event. All votes are taken by roll call, and at the end of the meeting, we will close by a verbal confirmation and note the time of adjournment. So, as I said, we'll start with a roll call vote of all board members, starting with David Veach.
Yes, David H. Veach, and I approve of this format.
Ed Acton, I approve.
David S. Nixon, I approve.
Paul C. Semple, I approve.
Stephen D. DeBoer, and I approve.
Virginia Fenwick, I approve.
And Randy Potash, I approve as well. So voting today will be regular member Virginia Fenwick, Paul Semple, David Nixon, associate member Ed Acton, and David Veach. I am not going to vote today, but I did go to all the applications, and I will have an opinion probably. So with that, Sarah?
We have the minutes of August 14th, 2025.
Paul?
I'm going to suggest that someone else move these minutes since I was not present for most of this meeting.
Yeah, so I will move approval of the minutes of August 14th, 2025 as presented.
I second that.
Okay, roll call vote. Mr.
Dave Veach votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I. Okay, now we will get to the first application whenever Sarah is ready.
Application number 25-079, Town of Chatham, care of Rob Faley, 549 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633, owner of property located at 240 Cedar Street, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 12B, Block 0, Lot 11. The applicant seeks dimensional variance from the required setback for the construction of a sewer pump station, wet well, 10.5 feet from the northwesterly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The property contains 5,663 square feet within the municipal zoning district. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the Protective Bylaw. Under application number 25-080, Town of Chatham, care of Rob Faley, 549 Main Street, Chatham, Mass. 02633, for the property located at 240 Cedar Street, also shown on Assessor's Map 12B, Block 0, Lot 11, the applicant proposed to install an exterior mechanical system appliance. The proposed generator will be located 19.4 feet from Cedar Street, where a 25-foot setback is required in the municipal zoning district. A special permit is required under Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rob Faley, Director of Public Works, Town of Chatham.
Jeff Gregg from GHD, consultant to the town of Chatham.
And welcome. So you can present your applications?
Sure. Sarah, do you have the site plan you could pull up on the screen, please? Would you prefer us to go through the variance criteria?
The first one that was read will be first, and then the second one will be second. Just, we'll keep them separate.
Okay. So, our pumping station located on Cedar Street. We are doing work within the town's parcel. And for the first criteria, in order to stay and minimize the impact to the wetland, we're actually constructing this in a wetland. And we've gone through conservation. We were shifting the station as far to the west on the parcel as possible. So for the first condition, we're driven to try to stay as close to upland as we could possibly get and minimize our impacts. In order to put this, we don't have any other locations for this pumping station, so that's pretty much the basis for the second hardship. And this is intended to basically continue with the town's implementation of their wastewater treatment and collection project that I believe everyone's pretty aware of.
So it's in actual accordance with the purpose and intent of the bylaw, would you say?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else on this one?
Just that there is a small retaining wall to raise the grade of the pump station, just so that is an impact on the topography, but its maximum height is close to 3 feet, a little under 3 feet, so it's a very minimal grade change.
Okay. Do you want to now go through the exterior mechanical system that needs just a special permit?
Sure.
And then we'll separate it out when we go through.
So, again, we talked about that we're trying to make our footprint, which is inside this retaining wall, as small as possible. So in order to provide adequate access for the generator, we wanted it as close to the street as possible, within reason. It's sized for the facility, so that's part of the whole process of what we're doing, intended to support this facility during power outages or other needs for emergency backup power. It is, the station itself should not have an impact on traffic flow through the area. There will have to be service to that like any other town pumping station. We have met with conservation and modified our landscaping plan with their approval based on resident impact comments from the abutter across the street to further provide a visual barrier of the station. We do have what we're calling a privacy fence on these two sides in this little section here. And then we have vegetation, native vegetation that's of various heights to act as screening through that area. Let's see, I think wastewater it's obvious that this is intended to, it's not gonna have a building or any facility on it, but deals with the overall wastewater conveyance for the town. And includes also having the appropriate utilities to serve that facility. The generator will, like all the other towns' municipal generators, have to operate I believe, weekly for about 10 to 20 minutes to run to exercise. So that will be a normal operation, but otherwise, unless it's called for through a power outage, the generator won't be on, so there's no other general noise associated with that. It's the intent is to have this facility blend in as best we can to the surrounding neighborhood. It doesn't have a building. We're using the privacy fence. We're trying to surround it with as much landscaping as possible to obviously minimize any of those impacts. And like I said, we're trying to put everything in this corner as best we could. This is the only site that was available with regards to its location. So although there is an impact to the wetland, we're going through conservation, we're going through Army Corps, and doing our best to minimize the impacts to this area. And there will be additional mitigation that's required as part of the order of conditions that we hope to be seeing in draft form next Wednesday. And then, again, trying to make the stations as aesthetically pleasing as we can for a pumping station with the fence and the landscaping. Hopefully I hit all the.
The only thing I would add is the source of water. There's water, municipal water located in the street. We would tie into that, and we will be improving drainage on both Cedar Street and on the site as well, and treating that before it gets discharged to groundwater.
Great. Does that conclude your presentation?
I believe so,
All right,
yes.
all right, thank you very much. So is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this project? If so, please raise your hand. Favor? Nope, don't see anybody. I will read the correspondences. There are two. Whoever has that noise going off, I think I mentioned before that that's frowned upon. I don't know where it's coming from, but, okay. First is from the Conservation Commission. Let's see, the applicant submitted a notice of intent on August 12th, 2025. The project was heard. On the 27th of August, the project was continued to September 10th for revisions. With the requested revisions, the project will be conditioned to meet the performance standards of the Wetlands Protection Act. That was received September the 8th. Next, we have a note from Judith Giorgio. She is our health agent. She tells us on Tuesday, September 9th, that she has no concerns and she supports this request. Those are for both applications. And is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that has a question or would like to speak against this application? If so, now is the time. No. Questions from the board? Dave Veach.
I have no questions, Randy.
Ed?
No questions.
Mr. Nixon?
I have several. First of all, the other planned pumping stations in that area, now the ones that I know of that exist are the ones by the Harbor Masters property and the one that was recently built by the Chatham Village Market. What other pumping stations do you need to have going south of this location on Cedar Street?
So we haven't defined where the final locations will be. I believe that we had identified on Staged Neck 3 potential other stations or a combination of pumping stations and pressure sewers. So we haven't done the final design. We haven't worked with the town to identify all the remaining locations, but we had identified 1, 2, at least 3 other locations that were potentially going to be pumping up and into this system.
Okay, that being true, why would you want to build this until you determine where the others are going to go?
Because this section of roadway is at the low point, and it's the next contiguous portion of the collection system in that area. And the location of the other stations is somewhat irrelevant. We know what the flow is from that would serve the rest of Stage Neck, that would come to this facility. So that's why we've been trying to get this facility designed and constructed.
Regardless of whether we have gravity sewer and 3 additional pump stations, or we install low-pressure sewer and every household has grinder pumps, they're all going to be pumping up to this pump station before it goes to, Stage Harbor Pump Station and back to the wastewater treatment plant.
You know, when I drive down Cedar Street, and then whether I go right or left, you're going down. Isn't that area lower than where you are planning on putting this on Cedar Street?
So when you're coming south off of Stage Harbor Road and you turn right onto Cedar Street, the first section of Cedar Street is actually sewered up to, I can't remember what the name of the road is, but at the top of the hill is sewered, and then as you head down towards Black Duck Landing, which is basically the low point in the road of Cedar Street before it starts heading back up towards Battlefield, that's where the station's going. It's in that low point that's down by Black Duck Landing.
So neither of you feel in any way that this is premature, this decision? That no matter what you do with the others, you have to have this one?
So.
And this needs to be in place before we even develop any of those other areas.
Okay. Had you considered any other locations along Cedar Street beside this one?
Yes, we looked at the private property on either side of this location, and the property across the street we had considered. We started this process in probably 2014, 2015, and the property across the street ended up rebuilding their house and did a whole bunch of conservation and mitigation in the location that was across the street. Directly across the street is floodplain, and wetland, so we wanted to stay out of that. And then we spent a lot of time, the former Natural Resources Director, Dr. Duncanson, spent a lot of time talking with the owner of the properties that's set back north of this, that basically are in the parcels north of this site. And they weren't able to come to some agreement on being able to get an easement on their property. There was a sort of an area that was in the buffer, but outside of the wetland, adjacent to one of their driveways that we considered, but we were not able to get that. So the town asked us to go back and look at our original location, which was this one, which was town-owned property.
Is this a $3-4 million project?
I don't have the cost of the total of just the pumping station off the top of my head. The whole project that we're doing, which is sewering this area and some other roads, is probably in the order of $14 million. The station is probably somewhere in the order of $2 million. It's typically where they're kind of falling. This one's a little more complicated because it's in a wetland, and it's very small. It's a small site, but.
Okay, final question. Just go through for us again, please, what you're doing to protect the wetlands.
What we're going to be doing is we've identified the boundary of the trees that we want to keep and remain. Then we're going to establish we have a limit of work, and then on another plan, we show where we have some protection of the existing trees that are in that, are basically outside of this line. And then the contractor is going to be basically doing the majority of their excavation here to dig the wet well, which will then disturb this area, and then they'll have to adjust the grades in the wetland to bring that up and have suitable material for structural material. There'll be erosion control and protection along that backside. We have a restriction for habitat for bats, like the federal government. There's a requirement so that the tree clearing is limited to, they won't be able to clear trees between April 1st and October 31st. So they'll be doing their tree clearing in the wintertime to protect both the bats and the pup season.
We've also minimized the impervious surface area. We have a lot of areas where, there is a paved apron, but the rest of the area, for the most part, allows water to percolate through the soils. And again, we will be treating stormwater where it currently exists. There's a paved swale going directly to the wetland, and now we'll be treating that with a forebay and removing sediment deposits before that enters the wetland.
Yeah, we're adding some stormwater improvements on Cedar Street, where now that water typically just goes right down to the low point and ends up in both the wetlands. And then we're doing an extensive planting plan here, and then we have to do offsite mitigation to do the balance, which will consist of potentially invasive species mitigation and additional plantings in some wetlands that the town is going to work with conservation to identify, and then some additional plantings at other locations, basically to meet the requirements of conservation.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Ginny Fenwick, questions?
Sorry, a couple of questions for you. I didn't see a legend for the trees, and you've mentioned a couple times of substantial, vegetative replanting. Are a lot of these trees that are here going to be new? Because I did see a lot of ribbons on trees that will be coming out, especially along the road.
Yes, so all of, this is an older planting plan. I apologize, this was submitted and then we had to revise it, and that was what went to the commission. This is all Atlantic cedar through here, and then we've made some modifications to this as combination of low bush like inkberry and holly, and then some other red cedars and other combinations of vegetation. I apologize, I don't have them off the top of my head, but there is a landscaping plan with a full list and also a list of all the trees and the species and the size that are being removed as well. So that was
And
required.
all that went to conservation. I was thinking about the abutters, and you mentioned one across the street. And I do know you've got fencing proposed, 3 sides, 5
So
foot.
the fence actually is on all 4 sides. What we're
Chain link on the back.
It's chain link on the back just because
Yeah.
it's a long ways and it's in the woods.
3 sides will be wooden, and 5'10" height is your proposed. And
It might be a composite, but it's a wood or a composite. It's a stockade style solid fence.
have you heard anything else from the neighbor across the street?
No, their landscape architect actually gave us the recommendations of what they wanted to see here, so
Okay.
we accommodated all of their
Okay.
requests.
Okay, great. And then one more just question. I think it's really important, isn't it, to have the benefit of gravity? Like that's a big reason why it's that location on Cedar Street.
So the town, when I first started working on this project, the town wanted to maximize gravity to the extent practical.
Yeah.
So that's what we've tried to do.
Yeah.
Try to do that as best we can. It's provides for the operations. It's I don't know how to.
Yeah.
Gravity never fails, so we don't have to rely on.
I guess what I'm kind of getting clarification on is the site itself benefits from the gravity, but that also contributes to the wetland situation, which is also part of why you need to site it in a place within your boundary that requires the setback variance.
Yeah, so this is, so the benefit of having sewer in this area is you're getting all those systems off of their septic systems. And again, because we were trying to maximize gravity for people and minimize the number of grinder pumps.
Yeah.
That's why we were looking for these sites first, because that's usually the preference. Both systems work, both systems are effective in addressing that, but yes, you will get that benefit. It's unfortunate in this case that the town's property is where it is in terms of the fact that it's wetlands. If we had a triangle next to it that was an upland, we would be certainly citing it there and not.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That's all I
And
have.
Steve?
I think that the topography of that land is actually below the surface of the road.
Correct.
Okay, so how much of this equipment is above the ground level? Approximately.
So it's all.
Not the street level, the ground level where it's
Okay.
installed.
So it will all, with the exception of the wet well, which is actually a large structure that goes into the ground, everything is above grade, and we're actually raising the elevation of grade because there is a significant drop-off from the road surface down into that area. So as Rob indicated, we're putting in a retaining wall to allow us to bring grade up between 1.5 and 3 feet in areas to accommodate a flat working area for the operators, and then keep our facilities above that. And then the generator sits on a pad, the electrical controls sit on a pad, and then the wet well has about a 6-inch reveal above grade, and then the pumps sit on top of the wet well and have their own pad, so they're all sitting
So,
above.
but none of it will be visible over the top of the fence, if the fence is approximately 6 feet tall.
So, there's the possibility that if, some of these structures may extend above the top of the fence, but as you're walking by, just based on visual and distance, you may see the top of it, but you're not going to.
But there's gonna be plenty of vegetation between the road and that equipment.
Correct. That's the intent.
There's a small
We're
chance.
trying to keep the fence down so that we meet, we're under the 6 feet, but we also understand that this structure for the enclosure, for the pumps is 6 feet tall, and it's sitting 6 inches up. So it's, the top of it is going to extend above the top of the fence. And the control panels, depending on the size of the panels, could be up to 6 feet tall. There's limits because obviously if the operator can't.
But there's a minimal amount of things that you would see over the fence, and they're gonna be blocked by vegetation, hopefully.
It's going to be very similar to, there's a pumping station in Meadowview that has basically the same setup and a 6-foot tall fence in front of it. And you can, depending on the angle or where you're standing, see the tops of it, but that's in the control panel. But that's it.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Paul?
Just to follow up on that, so what is it that the public is going to see from Cedar Street in looking over at that facility?
So you'll see a stockade-style fence with a gate. You'll have porous pavers out front, like you might see at Lime Hill Pumping Station or down at Barn Hill. And then there's a paved apron, and then you'll have tree plantings along all the front and then around the whole building. So then in several years, this will all fill in and it'll block a lot of the fence. You won't see a lot of, you will see where the gate is.
So you'll see the gate, will you see over the fence? I mean, the
It
road,
depends on I hate to,
On your perspective, yeah,
Yeah.
if you're standing there, you'd probably see a little bit more than if you were driving by, you'd have a lower eye level.
and if you're shorter than I am, then
well, I'm just trying to get a feel, because the road is well above a good portion of that.
So this is
Well-
elevation 17 right
Yep.
now, and I believe this is somewhere in the elevation of 15, 16. So it's still down, we didn't want water to obviously run into our site, so we had to kind of try to grade it that way. But it does still sit slightly lower than the road, which has the advantage of it's a little lower, but the fence is also going to be down a little bit. So depending on, and I apologize, I could probably look at the other plan to see what the elevations are. But if, I would, and the sidewalk's on the other side, there's not even a sidewalk on this side, so.
Correct.
The sidewalk's on the other side of the road, so, it's not, it's as screened as we could do, for this area,
Yeah.
considering that.
Well, I'm sure you can understand we're somewhat sensitive to this issue because
Yep.
we've seen some pretty ugly-looking installations, as it turned out.
Understood.
Okay, I have no other questions.
So I just want to make sure, everybody that asked questions, these questions that you asked were geared toward both applications 79 and 80, right? We can do deliberations separate because we have to deliberate on different criteria. But, okay, so with regard to the pump station that you want to put there, that is all in accordance with trying to clean the water and help the sensitive areas in that region of Chatham, correct?
Correct, and
Yeah.
all of Chatham. I mean, it's all for
Yeah,
the
but-
bigger plan. But yes, that is to address that area, Stage Harbor, Oyster Pond River.
Yeah, so although it's in a sensitive area itself, it's servicing many sensitive areas, correct? And with regard to the generator, if that pump wasn't able to function because there was a power outage, what would you have to do to keep it going?
So during a power outage, it has an automatic transfer switch, so it detects that primary
No,
power.
without the generator.
Oh, without the.
We would
Yeah.
have to have our Vector truck.
Set it up for us, why you need this generator.
So
Because
we
what
have
would
to-
happen?
We would have to have our Vector truck sit there and pump out of the wet well, but of course that has a certain capacity. And if it was, say, summertime, when flows are greater, and if that whole other area was fully developed, there would be a lot of septic flow into that wet well. Our Vector truck may not be able to keep up with it, and it would have to go back and forth between that site and the wastewater treatment plant.
It would be a disaster.
It would be challenging.
Yeah, it would be a lot worse than this is going to look.
You'd also
correct?
have, you could have a temporary generator, which would be louder and sitting above grade and running all the time and,
And that's all on this narrow Cedar Street.
correct.
Yeah, all right. I just
Randy,
wanted-
I thought of a question.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
So I'm just thinking, this just came to me. So the generator and generator location are allowed by special permit because of the change in the law that took place at annual town meeting?
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I thought, thanks. Otherwise, they'd be here for variance for that as well.
Correct.
Okay, so with that, I think we're going to close the public hearing, and Paul, if you would?
I'll move to close the public hearings and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, so now we're going to do deliberations, and let's just go in order. As to the variance, 079, let's just, we're going to deliberate on that, and then we'll go around again and do the other, if that works for everyone, unless anyone has a better idea. Is that good? That's fine. All right, so Dave, deliberate
Which one?
on the variance.
No,
For
Dave.
70, I'm sorry? Oh, which Dave, I'm so sorry. David Nixon.
Okay, all right. Well, with variances, I have wants and needs. And I'm convinced that from what you've said, this is needed to continue what the town voted for 15, 20 years ago, whenever it was, that this is just part and parcel of it. I don't believe that my concern about this being premature in relation to where the other three should go would change my vote. I mean, I like to see things in order and lined up, but that's not the way you folks are doing it, so I have to kind of live with that, I'm afraid. So this is a need, and I would vote for it.
Yeah, I would agree that it's a need, and so it's, I think it meets all of the criteria. Certainly meets the hardship without much difficulty at all, because if we didn't have this, did we experience a continuation of the kinds of difficulties that we've been having with septic system things? And certainly does not derogate from the intent and purpose of the bylaw, and also I can find that variance can be granted.
All right, and Ed?
I agree as well. I believe it's for the better good of the public, that it meets our criteria, and I would be a positive vote.
And Paul, what do you think?
I agree with the conclusions of each of my colleagues before me, and as a result, I will be voting favorably.
And Steve? If you were voting?
Well, I think, they made an effort to find an alternate location for this, and this seems to be the most advantageous for everyone. I think, it's going to help out the community in that area, and I think they've made every effort to try to protect and enhance the environment in the area, so I think it's a good project.
And Ginny?
I think you provided a very thorough presentation. It is a need for the town. We have 3 criteria, have to meet all 3, you know that. Topography, I agree with my colleagues. Hardship, I agree with my colleagues. Relief without detriment, I agree with my colleagues. So I think you meet all 3, and I would support it.
Yep, and I was going to go over the criteria, but Ginny pretty much just did. But it's important for people to understand that we have different criteria for variances, and just, I know we have another variance coming tonight, so just, I'm just going to say that, the 3 criteria, owing to circumstances relating to the soil condition, shape, or topography of the land or structures, and especially affecting such land or structures, you've clearly met that, and you've done yeoman's work in terms of setting it up, and I'm really impressed with how you dealt with the neighbors and said, what would you like to look at across the street? That's touching. It's very nice of you to do that. A literal enforcement would certainly be a hardship to all, and it would really just negate all the money that has been spent and the intent. It would just make no sense to not see it that way. And certainly it's doesn't derogate from the intent and purpose of bylaw. It is in harmony. So if I were voting, I would vote yes. So, Paul?
I'll move to approve the applications. We're dealing first with the variance, correct?
That's right.
Okay, I'll move to approve the application as submitted. I do want to ask, what's your intent in terms of construction? Cedar Street, as you know, is a busy street, especially in the summertime.
So the town has restrictions on work in the summer, so there's no summer construction between, I believe the dates are, it's Memorial Day till, I think, September 15th, I think is.
Or Labor Day or thereabouts.
I
yeah.
think sometimes, depending on when school's out, sometimes it's June 15th to September 15th, depending on the neighborhood, but the town has a restriction of no work during the summer, so that would be continued here. And then the project is intended to, we're going for funding October 3rd. We're hoping that we will be putting this out to bid in the spring of next year, and it would probably go to construction the fall of next year, depending on the contractor and their schedule, and there are other roads and other areas of town that are included, so whether this is in the first year of their construction or the second or third, it's intended to be probably a 2.5 year to 3 year project overall for everything.
Paul, before you say anything else, unless you're going to say this, I don't think it's the town that has no summer. I think it's this board that provides that criteria. I mean, those conditions. The town doesn't have that. The town, my understanding is you can't start work outside before like 7. But we could put those conditions on or not.
So so the town's mandate from
We-
the
we try to keep the peace with the Chatham residents
So
and visitors.
you're in accord
keep us
then
off
with
the
what
road.
we
So it's-
do?
The
Okay,
town-
fair,
they're-
fair.
they-
You're the
they've-
town then.
They've,
Yeah.
they've told us when, what those dates are. So
All right, so Paul?
Would you anticipate that all of your equipment and so forth could be contained on site, given the site that you're dealing with?
Well, they're going to be doing sewer work in the road as well at the same time, and it is very likely that during the construction, there will be work that will have to be in the roadway, at least one of the lanes, while they're trying to get into the site and clear it. But the intent is, while they're doing the majority of their work, there will be within the limits of work of that site.
So you would anticipate the public have access to Cedar Street during this period of time, just with some limitations on it?
The access will be very similar to probably what they experienced for Stage Harbor down to the old mill boatyard. So there were times that the road was open, there were times that the road was closed. The advantage is that although it's a longer drive, you do have a loop that you can go out towards Battlefield and then go down and come out Champlain and go up and around. So, we'll try to send traffic in various different directions so that the contractor, the reality is to keep the road open during construction, slows the contractor. So do you want them to get through quicker, or do you want to just have that one lane that you're gonna still be sitting, waiting for them to go by? So if they can close sections and keep people moving in one direction or the other so that they're not stuck, that's what we prefer to do. So that's what would happen.
That's a big loop from Battlefield up and around.
And
no
it is,
Cedar
you know
Street.
how narrow Cedar Street is, so imagine digging, say, a 10-foot trench down the middle of Cedar Street, or even the middle of one lane, for traffic safety. It'd be safer to detour them during those
see.
periods.
Okay. Well, I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the condition that between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed, no work will be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes?
Ginny votes yes.
It's unanimous. Congratulations. Now we'll take care of the special permit. Deliberations on that. Dave Veach?
Well, I think that, again, I think it's fairly clear, the need for the generator and the circumstances, and it's not, it would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood to have that. I think it would be more detrimental to the neighborhood to have a truck sitting there trying to stay ahead of the pumping of the, of the well. So it meets that criteria, and it meets our other criteria, and I can support the special permit.
Right, okay, Ed?
I agree with Dave, and I believe that, the mitigation that they're doing and the thoughtful process they've sort of gone through will relieve any of the concerns, but it meets our criteria.
And Dave Nixon?
Yeah, this is something that the alternative isn't acceptable. And I recall when we had the flooding at the intersection of Morris Island Road and Little Beach, I think I was sent over either a 10,000 or a 12,000 gallon tank truck, and they were trying to pump the stuff in there. It did not work. It did not work. And it wouldn't work today, actually. So, yes.
Okay, and Paul?
I agree with my colleagues.
And Steve?
I agree as well.
And Ginny?
As do I.
All right, very good. So, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the condition that all construction activity between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work will be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
Paul?
Yes. Paul votes yes.
And Ginny?
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, very good. That's unanimous as well. So, as you were.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so let's see what we're going to do next. I believe it's going to be 25-068, if I'm not mistaken. Yes.
Application number 25-068. Teresa and Gregory Clark, care of Victoria Clark, 45 Blackberrien Road, Weston, Mass.
Give it to Jenny.
02493, owners of property located at 69 Morris Island Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16A, Block 5, Lot C1. The applicant seeks a dimensional variance from the required setback to the Coastal Conservancy District for the installation of a swimming pool. The proposed pool will be located 18 feet from the top of bank where a 50-foot setback is required. The property contains 29,993 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A dimensional variance is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10, and Section 8D2C of the protective bylaw.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Victoria Clark. My family owns the property at 69 Morris Island Road. We are here today seeking a dimensional variance that would allow us to build a 400 square foot in-ground swimming pool. Just a little background on how we came to be here is that we decided we wanted to install a 16 by 25 square foot pool, so 400 square feet, as it's smaller than the 650 square foot asphalt basketball court we are removing. But it's slightly larger than a plunge pool so that children can swim in it and it is safe. So due to the nature of our lot's topography, the location of the house, as well as our septic system, this was the only logical location on our property for us to install the pool. We began designing this pool in the summer of 2024 in association with Ryder and Wilcox, as well as Blue Flax Design, because we knew we had to bring this in front of the Conservation Commission. And at the time, we were unaware of the proposed change to the bylaw that is now a part of the bylaw, that is the Conservancy District setback. So we got all the way through Conservation, Board of Health, and then as we were going to apply for a building permit, we realized that this proposed change nothing could be approved in the year while it had been proposed, so we had to wait and see what happened at town meeting. Obviously, the change was approved, and thus, that is why we are here today applying for the variance. And so I know dimensional variances have 3 different criteria. The first is with respect to the particular land or structure or building owing to circumstances relating to soil, shape, or topography. We are here regarding our topography. So our lot has a little under 30,000 square feet, and only about 17,000 of that square feet is buildable upland. The Conservancy District and the top of the coastal bank wrap around the southern and western portions of our lot, as well as we have an easement on the northern portion of our lot for our neighbor 67 Morris Island Road that runs the entire length of the property. So our area was limited before the new Conservancy District setback to begin with, but now it is extremely limited. So we believe that our property is unique. Similarly, a plan I sent to Sarah, as well as provided you all, I had Ryder and Wilcox build this up over a few weeks ago. If you apply the 50-foot Conservancy District setback, as well as the 25-foot abutter setback to our property, this red block of 978 square feet is all that would be buildable in this under this new bylaw, and obviously our house exists under this setback, which takes me to the second prong of the dimensional variance criteria, which is literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise. As you can see, with only 978 square feet that falls outside of any of the setbacks, we can't build anything, and obviously not having a swimming pool is a hardship, but if you apply the bylaw literally and we cannot put any sort of accessory structure on our property, whether it's a retaining wall, a shed, anything of that nature, so we find that to be within that criteria. And then the third prong is that desired relief may be granted without such substantial detriment to the public good without nullifying the intent and purpose of the bylaw. All the letters Sarah Clark received were from our neighbors and abutters, or all the letters last I saw she had received were from neighbors and abutters in support of our project. Similarly, as I mentioned, we had to bring this project in front of the Conservation Commission, and so we worked with them through this project, and they, evident through the order of conditions, they were amenable to the exchange of the removing an asphalt basketball court as well as a brick patio in exchange for the pool. This change netted a decrease in 250 square feet 153 of that square feet decrease was in the no disturb zone, and 117 square feet is in the outer aura zone, as well as evident from this plan, we agreed to mitigate the property by removing invasive species, the traditional lawn, as well as mulch, and growing and planting native plantings that would encourage growth and in the area, as well as part of the order of conditions is that the pool must be a saltwater pool. So again, to add to make sure that there is a protection of resources in that capacity. And
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please raise your hand. I don't see anybody wishing to speak in favor, so I'm going to go to the correspondences. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. And starting with, let's see, Judith Giorgio, our health agent, tells us on 9/10/2025, she reviewed the plan to add a pool, fence, and pool equipment to this property. The new pool will necessitate a relocation of the septic tank as proposed. The Board of Health granted a variance to allow the leaching area to be 14.8 feet away from the pool, where 20 feet is required. Additional variances were granted for the new location of the septic tank from the coastal bank. I noted on the planting plan in the packet that a drainage unit is proposed in the same location as the existing leaching area. This is a concern and must be relocated and shown on a revised plan. I'll give you a chance to rebut any of this in the appropriate time slot. Okay, next, we have a note from Conservation from August 26, 2025. And they tell us that the applicant submitted a notice of intent in November 2024. The project was heard in December 2024. And they will, it was conditioned to meet the performance standards on February 26, 2025. And that is that. Next, we have a note from someone named Cameron Reynolds Hardy. On behalf of the Families Partnership, and they tell us on August 30, 2025, we own the home north of 69 Morris Island Road at 63. The Clark family has shared their plans from Blue Flax and Ryder and Wilcox. I am writing to advise the Zoning Board of Appeals of our support for the Clark family's proposal to keep the existing fence as well as to install a swimming pool in their backyard. The specific piece of fence serves as a separation between our properties. We appreciate the Clark family installed the new fence as the old one had been overtaken by shrubs and had become dilapidated. They have our full support for their proposed project. Next, Tony Doggett writes on, let's see, I'm not quite sure. I'll get to that though. They live across the street at 64 Morris Island Road. They want to share their support for the application, both, and they support everything completely. That's Tony Doggett, and they give a telephone number, but not anything further, so.
They're at 64 Marsh.
Yeah, 64 Morris Island Road. I just didn't have a date, I guess, but anyway, that's not that important. David Chapman from 67 Morris Island Road tells us that he lives there on Morris Island Road, directly abuts 69. The Clark family has shared their plans from Blue Flax from Ryder and Wilcox to remove the asphalt basketball court, to install a swimming pool, as well as applying for a special permit to keep a piece of existing fence and that lines the driveway. We fully support the Clark's proposed plans. The fence along our easement has made the travel easier as it makes our passage smoother by restricting the renters at 65 Morris Island Road and previous overgrowth of abutting trees and shrubs from obstructing our passageway. It will not negatively impact us, and we take no issue with it. Then we have a letter from Margaret Nicholson. She resides at 87 Morris Island Road. She Louise Nicholson Howe is my daughter and trustee of the Margaret Nicholson Irrevocable Trust, which owns the property. The Clarks are my neighbors. I am writing in regard to their 3 applications in front of the ZBA for a pool, special permit for exterior mechanical, and special permit for a fence. I fully support the Clarks installing a pool, the pool equipment, and keeping the existing fence on the property while working with Conservation Commission in exchange for the installation of the swimming pool and the removal of the basketball court. The Clarks have agreed to mitigate the 6,250-plus square footage of invasive overgrowth on the southwestern side of their property, which my property abuts. I would consider it an improvement. I take no issue with it, and they have my full support. I'm writing, and this is Stephane and Marie Pauline Grufat, 33 Dune Drive, Chatham, from September 3rd, 2025. I'm writing a letter in support for the construction of a swimming pool at 69 Morris Island Road. We are the owners of 33 Dune Drive, and our house is directly east of the property and the proposed pool. We fully support the Clarks installing the pool and keeping the fence. The Clarks have agreed to mitigate the area of overgrowth on the southern side of their property, which is along our property line, and we think it'll be an enhancement. Additionally, the basketball court that's being removed is currently along our property line, and the proposed pool is over 30 feet from our property. We support the project wholeheartedly. That concludes the correspondence. Is there anybody here that would like to speak against this application or has a specific question? Sir, you raised your hand first, so please go ahead. And then you be next, sir, so you can line up. Yes?
All right, for the record, Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. Pools are luxury items, and putting non-permeable surfaces in, flood zones and not giving them proper setbacks doesn't allow the land to properly mitigate floodwaters when it floods. I think putting pools and other things in these flood zones sets a dangerous precedent. Putting one pool wouldn't matter, but when it's a slippery slope into everyone, putting things in flood zones. I did speak with Conservation, and I am aware of the, getting rid of the basketball court, but they were kind of, and they do like the quid pro quos, and they were kind of under the impression that you guys had already, approved this. So I don't know if they made that deal because they thought this was already approved. So, I'm pretty consistent. I'm against people putting things in flood zones. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, you are next. Questions and speaking against?
Yes, my name is Charles Sabat. I'm an attorney in Hyannis, and I represent Russ and Alina Haddleton, who reside at, or who own the premises at, rather, 65 Morris Island Road, which is due north of 69, which is the subject of this hearing. My clients are opposed to this request for variance. And I know that the applicant addressed or attempted to address the 3 prongs that are required for variance, but I would submit that with respect to the first one, namely the uniqueness of the site in terms of shape, topography, or soil, any uniqueness there you have to show that uniqueness is unique in the zoning district. And there hasn't been any evidence to that effect. And as a matter of fact, if you look at my own client's property, which is exceptionally undersized and is located in the same proximate location from the coastal bank, et cetera, that this property is located from, it really suffers from the same impacts that the 69 Morris Island Road property suffers from. In addition to that, any limitations on the site result from the fact that they previously raised and replaced the pre-existing structure with the current house that limited the applicable site that they could have. With respect to hardship, I would suggest to you that you cannot have a self-imposed hardship. And the fact that you want to have a swimming pool does not create a substantial hardship. It is that is a desire that is self-imposed and doesn't rise to the level of a hardship that the variance statute and the Section 10 envisions. And thirdly, I would say that when this project, when this basketball court was approved by an order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, which I believe was in 2006, on the landscape plan that was presented, and I have copies of it here, the area was labeled as infield mix basketball, and I think it says play area. It was not labeled as asphalt. And I was too short to play basketball, but I did play baseball. And infield mix is either grass or sand, and sometimes today in play areas it can be bark mulch. It's a pervious material that happens to allow the infiltration of water and water runoff. So somewhere along the line, this basketball court changed from infield mix to asphalt. And I would suggest to you that you cannot argue that you're ameliorating a condition that maybe shouldn't have been allowed in the first place, or at least was not allowed by permit. And this is the only landscape plan that is in connection with that 2006 order of conditions that I'm aware of. Finally, I want to mention that with respect to the fence that was installed by the Clarks on the lane.
We haven't done that application yet, so I will give you a chance when we get to that one.
All right, well, this is the other fence. This is the fence that's in front of our property. But I just wanted to
But
mention, all right, I'll wait until the next one,
Wait, yeah.
if that's your desire.
And
So I
Sarah-
have these plans, like, you need a microscope to see that section. It's an 8.5 by 11, but I'd like to submit them to the board in any event.
Okay, thank you very much. And if you just hand them to our clerk at the end, that's kind of how we do it. Sure, just right there, yep. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Anybody else that wishes to speak against or has a specific question? No. Okay, this is when we do rebuttal? Okay, take it away, Victoria.
Of course. And I'm sorry, I did not catch your name, but. Brian Phillips.
Brian Phillips, we don't talk from the audience.
Brian Phillips mentioned that we are in the flood zone. Our property is technically not in the flood map zone. We are on the edge of it, which is neither here nor there, but is just a quick clarification I wanted to make. We are on the edge of it, not actually in the flood zone. In regards to the the other gentleman's attorneys, I'm sorry, I forgot your name, Savage. Savage's notes.
I think it was Savette.
Savette, I'm so sorry. In regards to the topography, him saying our topography is self-imposed, we built this house in 2003 when we purchased the property. At the time, we met all dimensional setbacks. The house did not require special permits. The elevation at the time, the 100-year flood zone, was at elevation 10. It is now at elevation 13, so our buildable upland has since shrunk in that time frame. I believe Sarah has the original site plan map, which shows the original elevation. So I think saying that because we built a large house is not necessarily a good argument that that we self-imposed this.
I think he means the fact that you want to put a pool in.
Yes, but that goes back to what I said about, it's not just about a pool. We could not build, the hardship is we can't build any sort of accessory structure due to this new bylaw, and that is why we are here. Even though we are specifically requesting a pool, it has to do with the overall change to the bylaw and how we believe that affects our property.
Yep, okay, very good. So, questions from the board? Ginny?
Victoria, can I just ask you to re-explain the red triangle that's on the site plan?
So the red triangle is from the dimensions, if you are, I'll wait till it's up. So looking at it head-on, the dimension coming from what is the left, so from Morris Island Road, that is the 50-foot setback that is now required from the top of the coastal bank, which is the 100-year flood zone. The one coming from the south of the property is the 50-foot setback from the Coastal Conservancy District. And then the other side is the 25-foot setback from the abutters. So that triangle is what, with taking into account all setbacks we have to meet now, where we could build on this property.
And I think you said, what was the setback when it looks like you did your building in 2004?
There was no Conservancy District setback. There was still a 25-foot abutter setback, if I remember correctly, but the 100-year flood zone was at elevation 10, which I believe you can see more on the front of the property, as well as, yeah, this is the original site plan, which shows the flood zone, the limits of the Conservancy District at the time.
So that changed, but it changed to 13 from 10, but it would have been going in the opposite direction of the pool area. It would have been towards the front of the house.
Yes, it more affects the front of the house than the back of the house. That is correct.
Okay. But that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Steve, questions?
Is there anything that's surrounding the pool? I see there's like a brick pathway that would lead up to the pool. Is there anything else that borders the pool itself?
Right now, no. We have what was a garden that is fenced in on the edge of the property that will be removed, as well as a fence that was in front of what was the asphalt basketball court that would be removed. We kept that fence to prevent the invasive species from climbing up into that area, but there's nothing else in that area.
Around the pool itself, there's no sort of concrete pathway or walkway around the pool?
There would be pavers, but not a walkway of any kind. The brick patio was existing. We extended it, I believe, maybe 6 inches to a foot to meet the pool, so it wasn't a whole new design.
So that's the only access, is that brick path?
Yes.
Okay. What becomes of the basketball court if you were to remove it? How is that being mitigated?
I believe the terminology is micro lawn, so it's the natural type of grass rather than traditional grass.
Okay,
So
but it'll be a grassed area, not a planted.
No, there'll be some plantings within the space that the Conservation Commission decided upon, but it will be mostly open.
Okay. In the event that the pool does not get approved, are you still going to remove the basketball court?
I don't know, that's potentially, but it also kind of depends on
Okay,
how we move forward.
okay. All right, I appreciate it, thank you.
David Veach.
Well, one question that I had, Sarah, I don't know if anybody can tell me, so you're seeking to put the pool, I think the number is something like 18 feet from the top of the bank. The current house and/or deck as a structure, what's the shortest distance to the top of the bank now from existing structure?
So it looks
Looks like maybe the corner of the deck is the closest.
It appears to be, let me just pull up that plan. The corner of the deck right here on the plan is 11 feet from the top of bank.
So they're seeking to, they already have structure that's closer than what they're seeking for the pool.
For the pool, correct.
And so when the Clarks applied for this with the Conscom, it was in November, went through hearings and was finally granted in December. What was the date of the first advertising of the change to the proposed change to the bylaw that you had to go by?
So the date that we had to start enacting the proposed amendment to the bylaw was the date of the first publication, which was March 6th of 2025.
So that was
After they had received the
3/6/20
approval of the Conservation Commission.
25. So they had finally gotten their permission from Conscom, but had not yet applied for the building permit.
Correct.
And then when they did apply, it was after this 3/6 date.
And
which you have
yes,
to-
and once it's
you have to go by.
advertised, we have to go by.
Right, yeah. So I've been paying, this is a little closer attention to the changes to the bylaw that were enacted. And one of the things that I've noticed in my looking at this situation is that there are a couple of pools on, in the, on abutting properties that were permitted by zoning board of appeals. I asked Sarah for the dates, it was back in the 90s sometime. There are a couple of pools that already exist that are now in, and it looks like at least one of them was, they were both in the resource area at the time that they were permitted.
Is there going to be a question, Dave?
Yes, I'm getting to a question. So my question, and so I'm trying to think how this change of the bylaw impacts us and others. So by my reading of the change of the bylaw, and I'm going to ask Jay this, with the change in the bylaw, someone in the resource area would not be able to, short of a variance, get a pool or a garden shed or any number of other things that were made, changed. Is that what you see in it?
That's correct, Dave.
Okay.
That's what I see with the new bylaw.
So the new bylaw really closes some doors on things that we had been able to grant special permits for in the past. I'm not so sure that was made clear at the town meeting, but we did what we did, what we've got. Okay, I think that's all I might have for questions.
If you know, Mr. Building Commissioner, Jay, was that 2/3 of town meeting that needed to do that?
It was unanimous. The vote was unanimous.
Yeah, so it was unanimous, but I don't know if every single person voted, but, so was it required to be a 2/3 vote or a majority vote?
I believe it's 2/3 vote.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
And Ed, questions?
I guess this is for Victoria or for Sarah. This variance request, is the request for a variance based on the change to the bylaw basically now? That's what I see.
That's correct. Because prior to the first advertisement, this could have been done as of right.
Is a special permit?
No, as of right.
Okay.
Who did I miss? Paul?
Well, I don't think I have any questions.
Nothing? Okay.
I do have some thoughts with respect to whether to grant the variance and the arguments that are being presented.
And Mr. Nixon has indicated you have any questions?
No questions.
Mandy, I have just.
Yes,
a follow-up.
please.
Sorry. Yeah, I was reminded of, so Attorney Savitt was talking about the basketball court. Was there a special permit granted for that you're aware of?
I'm not aware of it, but I do know that when we before we tore down the existing house and built our new house, that's where the asphalt driveway of the original house was. But I can't speak to if we had to apply for a special permit for the asphalt. I'm not aware. I'm not positive.
Okay. And then, actually, Mr. Phillips reminded me that I had watched the conservation hearing also, and I too was surprised that there wasn't a ZBA hearing because they referenced ZBA. So do we have any, there was reference in the, do you know? Okay.
Since I do the comments to conservation for the zoning board, in my comment, I had let the Conservation Commission know that the fence that was on the plan presented to conservation is what required a special permit from the ZBA. Because at the time, the advertisement for the pool had not been in, so they were able to go through the conservation process without filing for the zoning board, because at that time, they didn't need to for everything except for 2 sections of fence.
Okay. So they were referencing it as if there had been a zoning board meeting and it had been approved, and that wasn't accurate. Okay. Thank you.
David Nixon, question?
Yes, I did have a question for the attorney for number 65, if you wouldn't mind going back up there, please, sir. So you've heard the discussion about what town meeting voted and so on and so forth. Does in any way that change your opinions on the variance and the 3 musts under that
No, because a variance is required, it's required under, the standards are Section 10 of Chapter 40A. You have your own standards under your own bylaw. So in my view, it doesn't change the criteria for a variance at all. Is that what your question is asking?
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Could you stay up there for 1 second, sir? Thank you. So my question is, all this mitigation, you know, the basketball court coming out, all the invasives,
Right.
you know, all of it. It's a lot. That doesn't change your client's point of view.
No, and I think the fact of the so-called mitigation doesn't take away from the burden of the applicant to show a hardship.
Yep.
And must show that it's not a self-imposed hardship. So while even if you find that there is mitigation, it doesn't necessarily support that argument or help them with respect to that prong, or in fact the first prong, which is the uniqueness of the site.
Right. It's not in the law.
And then the third one is whether it derogates from the whether it has an impact on the district as a whole. And here clearly, having passed this bylaw unanimously, apparently, in the Conservancy District, there's an overwhelming desire to make sure that there are no new structures that are installed or erected within 50 feet of the bank.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
You
you.
very much. And so, Victoria, now I have a question, a couple of things for you. All these mitigation promises, they're all very helpful to your very expensive property there, aren't they?
The mitigation specifically in the front of the property towards the street side, that mitigation is because they would prefer it to be more filled with plants. That's not necessarily our opinion because you have.
Okay.
But on the side of the property, on the southern side, we've tried to mitigate previously, but it's a lot of invasive species. So, and because it goes down and it's a steep drop, I don't know if anyone went out to the property, but it's a very steep drop.
We all go out.
So
you
it's,
know,
so it's
yep.
very difficult to maintain, and it goes into kind of a wetland. So we've tried in the past to cut it back to a certain degree, but it always comes back. So this type of mitigation, it's a lot more aggressive than we've ever tried, which is why we've just never done it, because you have to do it for a couple of years to make sure it sticks, and you have to fully clear cut the land in a certain way that we just haven't done before.
It's an expense.
Yes.
I think you have to dig 6 feet or
Yes.
something like that, correct?
You have to remove to the root, and you have to have, I believe we have to have the landscape designer on site while all the work is done to make sure it's done properly, so it's.
No, it's definitely an expense. But even with that, it's an improvement to the property, isn't it, to get those invasives out of there?
Yes.
They don't help you in any way, do they?
No.
No. And then the basketball court, do you use it?
We did. My younger brother played high school and college basketball, so all summer he was in Chatham using the court. He is now out of college, a
Sure.
full-grown adult. He sometimes uses it, but not as regularly as he once did, because he's.
Does it
has
do
a
you any good to have it there at this point?
We kind of sometimes use it as a sturdy surface when we have to put a table on, if we have a barbecue or something, just because sometimes the grass isn't as always consistent, but I can't speak to always. Sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't.
But wouldn't it be better to have an impervious area there as opposed to an asphalt basketball court, given the location of this property? Wouldn't it be better not to have that there?
Realistically, yes.
Yeah, okay,
It'd be better
Yeah.
to not have the oils going into the ground and removing it and all of that.
right, the runoff, yes. Okay, I know that answers my questions. Thank you so much. So, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. This is questions from the board, not questions from the. Oh, yeah, okay, go ahead. I'm just trying to keep my agenda straight here.
Good afternoon, Board. Greg Clark for 69 Morris Island Road. I just want to point out a couple of things also. In your discussion, and we looked up a couple of your recent approvals of variances for pools. So you go back a little over a year ago, you gave a variance for a pool at 103 Abzagami Run. And the argument that they made was that the 75% of the lot was buildable, but 25% was not buildable due to a hardship of the setbacks. That's less than 25% that wasn't buildable. On our lot, it's more like over 80% isn't buildable. And the 20% that is buildable, there's already a structure on, okay? And on that vote, if you look at it, you go back and look at the plan that they presented,
We don't have precedent, first of all. There's different arguments, there's different people voting every time. You know, there's different applications of the various variance criteria every time. So what you're saying is not falling on deaf ears. We hear you, but at the same time, we're not bound to that.
I
So please understand that.
I understand that, yes, I do. Okay,
Anything else?
that's it, thank you.
Yep, sure, thank you. Okay, any other questions from board members in any way? No, on the variance? No, Paul then, please.
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
David seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, so deliberations. Let's start with Steve.
Well, I think it's been said that a pool is a nice to have and not necessarily something you have to have. But where this is going is in a fairly isolated area. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have to abide by the bylaws and the need for a variance. So, I think I might have some difficulty approving this because I think this is a nice to have and not a necessity. So I don't think I would approve.
Do you think it meets any of the three criteria?
The only one that could be is the topography, because that's the only place that they have anywhere on their property to do anything. Even if they were to remove the basketball court and put the pool there, I don't think that would fly either. But I don't think anything else.
Okay, Ginny?
With respect to the hardship criteria, let me put that aside for a second. I want to just talk about the mitigation discussion. I'm a little uncomfortable with kind of bargaining for a structure for mitigation, which should be, I think, as a property owner and protection for this vulnerable area, which is close to the ocean and with, very close to the coastal bank, that should be done anyway. So I'm uncomfortable with that. And also the fact that the basketball court, it's a question, and the homeowner or the representative of the homeowner doesn't know whether that was ever permitted. I don't think that should be part of the proposed exchange. But setting that aside, I do not see how the topography is unique. There are many homes that are near the water that have their lot areas reduced to buildable upland because of the proximity to the water and the requirements that we have in the town for, important separation, setbacks. So I don't think that the topography is unique. I also don't think there's a hardship because the home was purchased in 2002. The home was demolished, replaced with a larger home that took up a lot of the buildable upland for things like a pool. And so that was self-imposed, even though the laws have changed a little bit with regard to elevation. And I don't know that I agree that it would have been allowed years ago, and now it isn't because of the change of the bylaw. So I do think it's a self-imposed hardship, and I do not at all agree with relief without detriment, because the town, in just this year, unanimously or close to unanimously voted for structures, for pools specifically, to not be within proximity of conservation, protected, the conservation protection is in place for a reason. We have a very special area in Chatham, and so it's very important, and that's why it was put before town meeting, and I think it was unanimously voted in favor.
Thank you. Paul?
Well, in looking at the application, when I was thinking about it over the past couple of weeks, the two areas that I particularly had problems with was, one, the uniqueness of the property with respect to soil condition, topography, and so forth. Because as is pointed out, it's very close to the same lot or similar to the one that's next door to it. And in terms of the question of hardship, I have difficulty saying that a ability to have a pool or not have a pool amounts to a hardship under the meaning of the statute dealing with variances. So it's a dimensional variance, but it's a variance, and I feel badly because I know you've been before this board before, but at the same time, we're bound by how we have to apply these standards, so I don't think that I can support it.
And Ed?
Well, honestly, I'd like to help the applicant out because I feel like timing, has really been the problem, but I have to go by the criteria. And I've been struggling with hardship. I just don't see a hardship not having the pool. The other two criteria, I think I could personally make an argument for, but hardship, I just don't see. And I wish I could help you out, but I don't feel I can.
And Mr. Veach, can you?
Well, boy, I don't like being where we are on this at all. But this may be a novel stretch of the concept of hardship, but my first thought in putting myself in the place of the Clarks, and I saw those two pools on abutting properties, and I put myself in place. To me, being denied the ability to have this pool and sit there and watch my neighbor's pools, I consider that a hardship. So, topography, I'm not sure. I hear all the arguments, and I guess if I felt bound to the most conservative interpretation of things, then I guess I would say that I can't vote for it. But I just don't, it's just, something's not right here in my mind. And so I can find that it meets the criteria. I don't think this derogates from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. Honestly, I'm not sure. I mean, the point of pools was made at town meeting, so, and town meeting has spoken, so I take that, and I have to answer that, but I also think that, I don't know that the town meeting really thought through that they are also banning, accessory structures within, this was a change in the bylaw to the setback to the resource area, not the resource area itself. So, we were able, or it was before any of us, I think, were on the board, we were able to allow those pools, and I think there are some others. I know there's a pool over on Old Harbor Road in North Chatham that I think is in the resource area that we allowed. So I just, and I look at the timing of all this, and I'm sorry, I'll support it.
And Mr. Nixon?
Well, the three criteria that has to be true, it just doesn't work here, has been mentioned by a number of the folks up here. The topography doesn't work. There's many other folks who have this problem. This is not unique. In the hardship world, I use the wants versus needs, and a pool is not a need. And as Ms. Fenwick mentioned on criteria number 3, this is something the town does not want. So I'll be voting no.
And I'm not voting, but I would also vote no, and I can't imagine, looking at the townspeople with a straight face where they just made this bylaw. And I think they knew exactly what they were doing, because if I'm not mistaken, Thad Eldridge presented it, and he spoke so well that and then everybody was overwhelmingly in support of this. So maybe it doesn't substantially derogate, but it nullifies it, in my mind. It nullifies it. So the other two, number 1 and number 2, a good lawyer can, finagle those probably somehow, and they do it all the time. And, but number 3, and that's usually the one that I think is easy. But this one, it's not possible that it doesn't derogate from a brand-new, newly minted bylaw. It's kind of ridiculous to me, the idea of us granting it. So I'm sorry about that, but I wouldn't have voted yes either, in case you're wondering. So would you like us to vote, or would you like to withdraw?
Yes, I'm going to have
Okay. All right, very good. Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
David seconds and votes yes.
Ed,
Ed votes yes.
you approve it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just checking because of what you just said.
No, I don't approve it. I thought we were,
That's how motions have to be in the
Yeah,
affirmative?
yes,
And
okay.
not to be tricked. You're not, yeah. So how do you vote?
Ed votes no.
Dave
I vote no.
Paul votes no.
and Ginny?
I vote no.
All right, well, it's unanimous, or almost unanimous, no. It's 4-1. 4-1, so I apologize that you did not prevail on that. We'll go to your next application, though. Would you like to continue with that?
We're gonna.
Sure. Okay, whenever Sarah's ready, we'll move on. I don't think you read that one yet, did you, Sarah? No, okay. Hold on a moment, we'll get there. Okay.
Application number 25-071, Teresa and Gregory Clark, care of Victoria Clark, 45 Blackburnian Road, Weston, Mass. 02493. Owners of property located at 69 Morris Island Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessors Map 16A, Block 5, Lot C1. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance. The proposed pool equipment will be located 22.1 feet from the northerly abutter where a 25-foot setback is required. The property contains 29,993 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Section 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Please go ahead.
So we're looking for a special permit for this mechanical equipment specifically. While it does not meet the abutters, the distance, it is further from the Conservancy District, and it is just out of the 50-foot setback. We chose it because it's close to what was the proposed pool. It's hidden by existing shrubs and is not visible from the gravel drive or the street, and that's kind of just why we chose it.
Sure, okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams who wishes to speak in favor of this particular application? If so, please raise your hand. Speaking in favor, seeing none. Are they the same letter, Sarah?
They are the same, but since this is a separate application, they will need to be read or summarized.
Yeah, okay, so.
I bet you're gonna really condense it.
Yeah, I'll do the best I can here. Conservation, I can just state, no, actually, the first one is from my health agent. She reviewed the plans, and she was concerned about the drainage unit in the proposed same location as the existing leach area, and that it must be relocated, and show her a revised plan. I forget, did you talked about that last time?
The Board of Health, we went to, when we applied for the building permit, the Board of Health noticed that the septic system wasn't on the plan and we had to redo things with them. So that was kind of not an afterthought but it was done later than the conservation.
It's resolved,
plan.
though?
Yes.
Okay,
It is resolved.
that's resolved. All right, very good. And then the Conservation Commission told us on August 26th that they will be able to condition it to meet performance. And then we have several notes, all in favor from your neighbors. Are you satisfied with that for this? That'll be great. Thank you so much. Is there anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this special permit? If so, please walk up to the podium.
So again, for the record, Charles Sabat, representing Russell and Alina Hattleton, the owners of 65 Morris Island Road. And with respect to this request, it's unclear to me and to my clients what is meant by pool equipment. And I see a reference on the plan, pool equipment. I don't know what that means. One of the requirements of the special permit provisions in your bylaw is that you will have to find that the ones that I'm focusing on is under 4D, Delta, impact on neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas. Well, it won't, I don't think it will affect the view or the vista, but I don't know how large this is or what the visual impact is going to be. And then I would go down to number 4G, which I think is more significant, noise. It has noise and litter, but I don't see a litter issue. My question would be noise. We don't know what's meant by pool equipment. Is this a generator type of device? Is it going to be running 24/7? Is it going to be running 10 hours a day, 7 days a week? I don't know. And the other thing I would point out is that under the Conservancy District bylaw, it also requires a special permit for the installation of submerged pipes or cables used for swimming pools. And this particular application addresses only the question of the setback from the abutting property. It doesn't address submerged pipes or cables. And I would suggest that they would have to have a separate, I'm assuming that this pool equipment, whatever this device is going to be connected somehow to the swimming pool. So those cables and those conduits would have to be separately permitted. Thank you.
Okay, so Sarah can answer some of that, yeah.
So as far as the pool equipment, typically it's filters, heater, those types of things. Because the pool is not located within the Conservancy District, it cannot be done by special permit. Otherwise, they wouldn't have applied for a variance previously if it had been located within the flood zone and/or Conservancy District. So that section of the bylaw in this case wouldn't apply. And due to the bylaw amendment, they can come by special permit now for mechanical equipment, exterior mechanicals within setbacks, so that they are properly before the board.
Okay, anything else, Victoria, that you want to rebut on that? Or answer?
Regarding the pool equipment, we were vague because we had not yet, we designed a general concept of a pool. Obviously, we did not go out and hire a contractor, pick specifics before getting approval. So we have from a few different contractors, we got a general size of what typical pool equipment would be for this size, which is what we mapped out on the plan. Additionally, the pool equipment that we've looked into run silent, so it wouldn't make noise or affect the neighborhood, and it would not run all the time. I believe it would only run when the heat is on, which would be when sparingly.
Okay, very good. Anybody else have negative or a question? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Phillips, when you get to the podium. Questions or speaking against the special permit?
Brian Phillips, 374 Orleans Road. Again, just against putting stuff in flood zones and not meeting the setbacks, although I don't know if it applies to this, because I just read
So
it.
don't come and comment if you're not sure if it applies
All
next
right.
time.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else speaking against or has a specific question? Nope. Okay, questions from the board. Mr. Veach.
Sarah, I believe you just said this, but once again, this was able to come as a special permit request because of the change in the town meeting,
Correct.
in that, the change to that portion of the law.
The change to that portion of the bylaw, correct.
Okay. I think that's all for now, thanks.
Yeah, okay, Ed, questions?
Was there any other locations considered that wouldn't require relief from us?
The only other location would have fallen within the Conservancy District setback, and we chose to put it further away from the coastal bank rather than closer to, just because of, in front of the conservation, we felt that made the most sense.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Nixon, questions?
No questions.
And Paul, questions?
No questions.
And Steve?
I have no questions.
And Ginny, do you have any questions?
Yeah, Victoria, where, if it had been contemplated to go there, what would have been, do you know, what would have been the ask of the,
Conservancy District?
well, like what you're asking for here on the northern side is 22 feet.
I assume it would be less, as the pool itself, it was 18 feet from the Coastal Conservancy District. I think that it probably would have been about the same, so I would guess around 18 feet or so.
Okay, thank you.
Paul, you want to close the hearing and move into deliberations?
I will move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed Acton votes yes.
Yes.
Paul votes yes.
Ginny?
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, very good. So deliberations, Mr. Veach?
Well, you know, there's certain advantages to looking at special permit criteria. I'm not tremendously familiar with pool equipment and the amount of noise it generates, but I think that it's fairly quiet, so that I'm not concerned about that, the concern about noise. I would like to point out to Mr. Phillips' comments, we aren't in the floodplain here. So we're not in the floodplain. We're outside of it. We are, and actually, in this case, we're outside the setback too. Okay. So anyway, I think that this certainly can meet the special permit criteria that we have, and I can support it.
Okay, Ed?
I agree with Dave. I believe it can meet our, or does meet our criteria. We have approved, similar setbacks like this. In regards to noise, there is a fence also along that property line, so I think it should contain any noise on the site. And typical pool equipment, a heater, filter. The heater only runs when the filter's running, so I don't think it would be detrimental to the neighborhood.
Mr. Nixon?
This would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, so I would vote yes.
Okay, and Steve?
Well, I guess I question the need for pool equipment if there is no pool.
And the elephant in the room, perhaps? Yeah, well, this is how they want to proceed, so.
I guess that it can be installed in the hopes of getting approval for a pool someday, but I don't see anything wrong with it, but I kind of question the need for it.
Sure, and Ginny?
The reason I asked about a different location is because there's a road here. I know it's called a drive or a way, but it is someone's driveway. And pool equipment right there could be, I don't know that I really like the location of that right next to a neighbor's drive.
Well, because we're in deliberations and we've closed the public hearing, it's been indicated that the applicant might want to respond to that. Would you like to hear that?
Sure.
I can see how it construes as a road. It's technically our property. It's an easement for our neighbor at 67. So it's just, we maintain it as a road because one of our neighbors has an easement. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a gravel driveway. That's just the only thing I wanted to note, is that it's technically not a public way or anything. It's just.
Okay, thank you. It is, however, the driveway to the neighbor, two neighbors, I think, that are, it's the way for two people, well, actually, maybe even three. One of the houses doesn't have a driveway, but there's something there. I couldn't really see through the fence. So that part of it is, I do agree that this is where town meeting was favorable to this one, and so I am not as uncomfortable. It's only 3 feet they're asking for, but I do, I just have a reservation about that being the driveway to two of the neighbors.
Yeah. And just to be clear, this is the one where, Sarah, town meeting changed this application from a variance into a special permit? Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, so they made it easier to just let people get their mechanical systems without a variance, so you are up on this one, so that's good. And Paul?
Yes, I think this is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, so I will support it.
Yep. And as would I, so, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
David seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, so that's unanimous, and you prevailed on that one. Now you have one more, and I think.
Yes.
Let's see, this is about a fence. So this is application 25-076, when Sarah is, I'm sorry, 2, when Sarah's ready.
Application number 25-072, Teresa and Gregory Clark, care of Victoria Clark, 45 Blackburnian Road, Weston, Mass. 02493. Owners of property located at 69 Morris Island Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16A, Block 5, Lot C1. The applicant proposes to install fencing under Section 4A3A of the Protective Bylaw. The lot contains 29,993 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 9, and Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw.
Welcome back.
Hello. So my name is Victoria Clark. I'm here about a specific portion of our existing fence. The packet I handed out at the beginning included some photos that I sent to Sarah as well. So when we purchased this property in 2003, there was an existing fence that lined the northern portion of our road. It served as a separation between ourselves and 63 Morris Island Road, as well as 65 Morris Island Road. The specific portion of the fence in question is against 63 Morris Island Road, which is the Roe Reynolds family, and they had shrubs that grew against the original fence. As time went on, over the last 15 years or so, the shrubs overtook the fence, which became a problem for a few reasons. The first was that it began to infringe on the gravel drive, shrinking the driveway for our neighbors at 67 Morris Island Road who have the easement to use it, so it became a problem for them. Similarly, ourselves, 67 Morris Island Road and 65 Morris Island Road, all use the same private waste management contractor, and they started to have trouble getting down the driveway because the shrubs had shrunken the road so much. So what we decided to do was we cut back the shrubs and installed a new fence in its place. At the time, we did not realize that the flood zone had changed. We only became aware that this portion of the fence was now in the flood zone when we went to the Conservation Commission for the pool. And at the time, we decided to remove the portion of fence from the Conservation Commission plan because they could not approve the plan as existing with the piece of fence on it unless we had gotten a special permit from the zoning board. And at the time, we had not had the opportunities to speak with the Roe Reynolds family to make sure they wanted to keep the fence. So we circled back over the summer, or as the months went on, we spoke to them. They agreed that they wanted to keep this specific portion of their fence, specifically because their house is a few feet from the property line. So it, in addition to the shrubs they have, it creates separation between our two pieces of property. And in the R40 zone, there are quite a few fences. Many of our neighbors have fences that separate property lines as well as for different purposes. So we feel it's compatible to the neighborhood. The Conservation Commission, as I mentioned, was okay with it as long as there was a special permit for it, so that we don't believe it has an impact on the environment. It doesn't affect the noise, litter, sewage, water drainage, so we think it is allowable by special permit in this area.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application regarding the fence? Please raise your hand if you want to speak in favor. Seeing no one, the letters are the same. Please.
The only one I think might be worth rereading
Sure.
is the neighbors who specifically are against this property, 63 Morris Island Road. I believe it's from the Roe Reynolds family. I'm not entirely positive who wrote the letter, but I know that that specific neighbor who shares this fence wrote a letter in support.
In support. You had said, I thought you just said a minute ago, not in support.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say they wrote in support.
I was wondering why you would say that, but, yeah, I was like, did I miss a letter? Yeah.
Okay, so these two that are folded are the ones that speak specifically to the fence.
Okay, there's two that are folded that speak specifically to the fence, so I will grant you that request, and thank you for not having us read all the others. So we own the home on 69 Morris Island Road. The Clark family has shared their plans, writing to advise the zoning board that their proposal to keep the existing fence as well as to install the swimming pool, et cetera. We support it. The specific piece of fence serves as a separation between our two properties. We appreciate that the Clark family installed a new fence, as the old one had been overtaken by shrubs and become dilapidated. So we fully support it. And then the other one is 67 Morris Island Road, directly abuts us at 69. This is David Chapman. The Clark family has shared their plans, and they're going to remove the asphalt basketball court, install a swimming pool, as well as applying for special permit to keep the piece of existing fence that lines the driveway. We fully support their proposed plans. The fence along our easement has made the travel easier, as it makes our passage smoother by restricting the renters at 65 Morris Island Road and the previous overgrowth of abutting trees and shrubs from obstructing our passageway. Okay, satisfied? Very good, very good. Anybody here or on Microsoft Teams wishes to speak against or has a specific question, walk up to the podium and then line up if there's anyone else about this one. Sir?
Again, Charles Sabat for the Haddletons at 65 Morris Island Road. No pun intended, but we're sort of on the fence about this one. We're not necessarily here to oppose it, but I just want to be clear, if you are inclined to approve this, that in your decision you specify that you are going to allow preservation of that section of the fence that adjoins or abuts 63 Morris Island Road. That's what they've asked for, but I want to have that clear in the ultimate decision. With respect to the fence as it fronts on 65, which is my client's property, we just completed some litigation over the way and the fence, and the Superior Court has ordered that 4 sections of the fence that fronts on 65 be removed. Now, that decision is being appealed, I should say that, by way of a footnote, so that could be reversed. But the court has ordered that 4 panels of the fence.
Is that relevant to this part?
No, but I want it, that's the reason that I would request that you be specific.
Hold on one sec.
Yeah.
Sarah, please.
So the only relief they are seeking is for the portions of the fence that fall within the flood zone. That's it. The other fencing that's a civil matter between.
The only thing is, on the plan, it doesn't really show me, I couldn't see where the flood zone is or is not, and what sections of the fence they were talking about. So I just want to be clear if you would, in your decision, assuming you're going to approve this, to specify that that section of the fence that adjoins or abuts 63 Morris Island Road.
And I saw our Vice Chair, Paul, who does conditions, jot it down. So he heard you, and he already wrote it down. How do you like that?
All right, okay, great, thank
And
you
he's
very much.
not for hire, just
All
so
right,
you
thank you
know.
very much.
Yeah. All right. So we're on questions, and if anybody has any negative, anyone's against it. Questions, and are you against? I don't see anyone else at all. So we will go to Paul and close the public hearing and move to deliberations.
I'll move to close the public hearing and
I
move
have a
into.
couple of questions.
Oh,
We didn't,
side of the room?
well, no, we didn't do questions.
We didn't do questions. We're going to do them now. Sorry,
Just so I'm clear, because I found this confusing. What you're talking about, Victoria, it's like a couple of sections closest to the road.
Yes.
Where it kind of sweeps down. Anything below the 13-foot line is what you need approval from us for.
Yes, that is correct.
That having been said, I know that the rest of the fence, it's my understanding after watching Conscom, that you're going to need to provide 6 inches of space underneath the rest of that fence, but we're not involved in that part, correct?
I believe so, but I believe that the Conservation Commission and the building inspector make sure those criteria is
Well, and because they're going to want to make sure that the overall height does not exceed 6 feet.
Yes, and I know this was a problem we had, I think, maybe last summer, that the fence is 6 feet, and we left originally the 6 inches below for conservation, and then the building inspector informed us we had to fill in the 6 inches, so it's because they don't sell fences that are.
That's why I was sort of focused on, because I watched the hearing, I heard, and then I know that there's good reason for the conscom when you do that. But if you were to take that fence as it is and raise it up by 6 inches, you'd probably be 6 feet, 6 inches of fence, I'm guessing. And that's contrary to the zoning bylaw about adjacency to a lot line, I believe. So, is that correct, Jay? I'm sorry.
Correct. Fences 6 feet and above are required to meet the setback. So you're exactly right. If they have to have a gap for conservation, then they would have to cut the panel down so that the overall met the requirement.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
All right, so just to be clear, we're on questions from the board on 072. So questions, Mr. Acton,
No questions.
Mr. Nixon?
None.
Paul?
No questions.
Steve?
Is the fence that we're talking about run the length of the house along the gravel driveway?
Yes, it runs basically the length of the northern side of the property.
And I think I read someplace that you're removing all of those arborvitaes?
We were going to remove and replant.
You're just moving them back, basically?
Yes, adjusting them.
Okay. And then is the rerouting of the driveway part of this application, or is that totally separate?
That was totally separate. That was conservation.
Okay, thank you.
And Ginny, questions?
No additional questions.
No? Okay, so now, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberation.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. We'll start with we're going to start with Mr. Veach, and we're just going to go this way, so I don't mess it up.
Well, this, again, a special permit. It's not substantially more detrimental to have that fence remain. I know there's some concerns with Conscom talking about stockade fencing in a velocity zone, but this is an A zone, and they didn't feel that was really going to be problematic. So I don't think there's any, I think it meets our criteria to allow that fence to be there in the flood zone. Thanks.
Ed?
And I agree.
And Mr. Nixon?
Yeah, in no way is this substantially more detrimental. In fact, it makes for good neighbors.
Yep, good. Paul?
I agree with my colleagues.
And Steve?
As do I.
I do, too. I agree with my colleagues.
All right, very good. So, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted with the provision that the fencing involved will be that which is adjoining or abutting 63 Morris Island Road.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
And so it's unanimous.
Thank
Very
you.
good. This has been a part-time job for you, I think. Maybe a full-time job, I don't know. But we are going to take a 5-minute recess, and we will be back on the other side of that. We are back. Sarah, whenever you're ready, the next application.
Application number 25-059, Giselle Limentani, 114 Sequoia Road, Chatham, Mass. 02633. Owner of property located at 107 Sequoia Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 8D, Block 7, Lot R10. The applicant proposes to install an exterior mechanical system appliance. The proposed generator will be located 7.2 feet from Geranium Drive, and the proposed AC condenser will be located 6.8 feet from Geranium Drive, where a 25-foot setback is required. The property contains 11,187 square feet in the R20 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, or under Section 8D2B of the Protective Bylaw. This was continued from August 28th, 2025.
Attorney Litchfield, welcome.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Bill Litchfield here on behalf of the applicant, Giselle Limentani, who is in the rear. You will recall that Ms. Limentani was here on August 14th, or whatever the date was. And at that point, the Attorney General had not yet approved the change in our zoning bylaw, which was enacted at the May town meeting. That, in fact, happened. The AG approved it. It was posted, and all the appropriate things have been done. So we are now happily seeking only a special permit rather than a variance, knowing, of course, that you give variances on a regular basis. We are nonetheless happy to be seeking only a special permit as allowed under the change in the zoning bylaw. What is proposed is what is shown there. You've been out to the property, you know, a couple of times. You know that Giselle and David, her husband, or the owners of the property, are renovating what was a very deteriorated and difficult property. And we at the time the plans were developed, frankly, there wasn't consideration of where exterior mechanical appliance systems might be placed. The gas line is on the north side of the property, and putting them anywhere else would be problematic. Moreover, what is shown there as Geranium Drive at the top or north side of the property is a paper of what the town acquired, and it is a of what the town acquired. And it is a bit from a subdivision to the east of it. So the fee interest, the underlying ownership, is owned by the two abutters, of whom Giselle is one. So I'll go into the criteria for the placement of the generator: 7.2 feet from Geranium Drive, and the compressor 6.8 feet from Geranium Drive, which again is frankly just a non-existent street. As to adequacy of the site in terms of size for the proposed use, we have an 11,000 square foot lot, somewhat larger than many in the area, which has been and remains adequate for residential use. It is supplemented by approximately 2,000 square feet of fee ownership in that spur. Both units, the generator and the compressor, will be further from the paper road than is the allowed house. The generator is, I think, 7.2 feet, the compressor 6.8 feet, and the house itself is 4.6 feet. And it's the suitability of a site for the proposed use, and as you know, this is what's referred to as a straight special permit rather than a non-conforming change. The site is suitable for exterior mechanical appliance systems, which are, as you know, an increasingly common adjunct or accessory aspect of residential use. There's no impact on traffic flow and safety because there's no traffic there. As to impact the neighborhood visual character, including views and vistas, there's no impact on visual character. The generator is 50 feet back from the edge of the pavement of Sequoia. The compressor is 42 feet from the northerly neighbor's fence, stockade fence that you've seen, with vegetative screening to be provided, and the compressor is tucked behind the addition under construction. Sewage and sewage disposal and water drainage are not at issue, nor are adequacy of utilities or other public services, except that the gas line happens to be on the north side of the lot, which is why the generator needs to be located there. As to noise and litter, again, the compressor will be more than 40 feet from the neighbor's fence. And interestingly enough, because the spur, so-called Geranium Drive, is 35 feet wide, 17 and a half feet of it the underlying interest belongs to the applicant. So if we add the 17.5 feet and the 6.8 feet, we get to 24.3 feet, which is awfully close to 25 feet. And it's more than the abutter's setback. And the generator, of course, is far from the actual road as well. As to compatibility, or noise and litter, one other aspect, the compressor will operate between 52 and 62, between 56 and 62 decibels. Because it's a heat pump unit, when it's heating, it could go up to 65 decibels. A standard office or conversation is at 70 decibels. So it is not going to be a loud, noise-emitting compressor or generator. And of course, as we all know, when a generator is running, except for the 5 minutes a week of testing, we all have bigger problems than the noise of a generator. So it shouldn't be an issue in that regard. As to compatibility of use, it's an accessory use or adjunct use in a purely residential neighborhood. And the affected abutter on the north side, beyond what you can see on that plan, has no objections whatsoever as to impact on natural environment slopes and environmental issues generally. The elimination of the bittersweet and the poison ivy and God knows what else was growing in there has already been an improvement. As Giselle indicated last time, there will be planting of appropriate vegetation. The generator and condenser themselves will have no environmental impact. As you know, the special permit we are seeking requires a finding that the use will not be detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood. I know Mr. Veach always wonders how the future character can be predicted, but that's another issue, or of the town, and that the use involved will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. The voters made this change by a unanimous vote at the last annual town meeting, and this is a prime example of why a variance ought not be required for placement in a logical location, dictated in part by the gas line, and can be granted. And I think you can find that this warrants the grant of a special permit, and be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? If so, please make it known. Raise your hand. Seeing none, I will read the correspondences. There is one. Judith Giorgio, our health agent, tells us on 8/21/2025 that she has no concerns regarding this application. With nothing to rebut, I would say now, is there anybody, well, actually, we would have to get to that with this next part. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak against this application or has a question? No. Now there's nothing to rebut. All right, questions from the board. Are there any? Anybody? All right, then Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Okay, and deliberations. We'll start with Ginny and work our way down.
Originally, you didn't see it because it had all the trees and vegetation, so I think it was a shock to see it with everything removed. But Mr. Litchfield has explained they share it with the neighbor is not, has no objection. And I remember the homeowner at the last hearing mentioning that it's been cleared for everyone's, for the good of everyone, and it's not gonna stay cleared, it's gonna be better, and it's gonna be replanted with beautiful things. And so I don't think you're gonna see the side. Personally, driving up right now, it feels like it's right there in front of you, but I think if it's masked, it will be fine. That's what I think.
And Steve?
Well, I think this is the logical place to install this, and I don't think it's detrimental to anyone.
Paul?
I think it clearly meets our criteria. It's not detrimental to the established or future character of the neighborhood and the town, and when it is found that the use will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw.
Mr. Nixon?
I'm for it.
And Ed?
I'm for it as well.
And Mr. Veach?
Yeah, and another example of an improvement and a change to the zoning bylaw. I'm not so sure about the other thing that got passed, but we'll wait and see
Okay,
in time.
logical. Oh, that's the operative
So,
word.
but I will support it, certainly.
Yes. Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. moving on to the penultimate. Remember that one? Second to the last? Yeah.
Application number 25-070, Edward and Joanne Cutting, 31 Willowdale Road, Winchester, Mass. 01890. Owners of property located at 46 Dairy Street, also showed on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 14G, Block 61, Lot B101. The applicant seeks to enlarge, extend, or change a nonconforming dwelling on a nonconforming lot via the conversion of the existing garage to habitable space, and under the second except clause of Section 6 of Mass General Law, Chapter 40A requires the grant of a special permit. The lot is nonconforming in that it contains 10,454 square feet, where 40,000 square feet is required in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 6, and Section 5B of the protective bylaw.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. First, thanks for letting me stand up here and talk about it a little bit. So we are
If
the
you
owner
just
of,
state your name, sorry.
oh, sorry, Brad Cutting, Edward Cutting, the owner of 46 Dairy Street with my wife Joanna.
Okay,
We are hoping to get a special permit for the purpose of converting an existing garage into basically a den or a playroom for our kids. It's a non-conforming lot due to its size. We are not adding any space to the building. We're not changing the building. We're literally intending to take the garage off the front of the garage door and turn it into 2 sets of windows. We think it'll make the house a little bit better. Definitely it will be better for the neighborhood because we won't have the kids running around screaming and yelling and being teenage boys. That's our request in short.
all right, thank you. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please make it known. Seeing none. Do I have any correspondences? Yes, you do. Yes, yeah. Very good, no worries. We have 2. We have 1 in favor and 1 from the Health Department. Let's see. We have Judith Giorgio, our health agent, who always opines on anything that we have before us, and this was 9/9/2025. She reviewed the plan to convert the garage to a family room at this property. The room must have a cased 5 to 6 foot opening to eliminate privacy so as not to be considered a bedroom. The dwelling is approved for only 2 bedrooms. Detailed floor plans of the proposed remodel are needed for review. Then we have a note from Marianne Lewis from, I'm writing in response to Edward and Joanna's Cutting's application to turn their garage into habitable space. My name is Marianne Lewis. I live at 21 Cod Lane, directly next to the Cuttings. They are wonderful neighbors. 2 teenage sons are valuable summer employees in the town of Chatham. They alerted me to their plans ahead of time, and I have no issues with it. I have no doubt that their main motivation is to provide additional space for the 2 young men living under their roof. As my house is the closest to the garage in question, I think it's a sensible request, and there's no reason why the application should be denied. Plus, my 2 dogs love them. Okay. That does it for me then. So, is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that has a question or wishes to speak against this application? No. Questions from the board? Are there any? Yes, Mr. Nixon.
So who dropped a dime on you that made you come in front of us?
So we are learning a lot, which is great, and actually kudos to Sarah and I think Jay. We have done some work in the house. We bought the house and it needs a little bit of love. I do a lot of the work myself just because it's a little less expensive. But we did a couple projects with a really wonderful human being who didn't quite do all the stuff he was supposed to do. And that alerted us that we needed a special permit. So we're now going through this process to get all the permitting correct so that they can get all the building stuff correctly done. So no one really ratted us out. It was more of we didn't do things correctly.
Well,
And it's our fault.
the town needs your money for
Yeah.
various
All right. Does anybody else have a question as to this application? If you do, please feel free. No? Okay, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes.
Jeannie votes yes.
Okay, deliberations. Steve?
Well, I guess you admit that you got a little bit ahead of the permitting process, but, you know, what's done is done, and I think it looks okay, and I don't think it's gonna cause any harm to anything, so, good luck.
Thank you.
Ginny?
Yeah, I think it looks like a nice and an appropriate change, and I would have approved it if it had come before us, you know, properly. And I think it's a great project, so I don't have a problem with it.
And David Veach?
Yeah, well, the upside is it's a lot easier to envision what the end result will look like. And we don't need a model. Or you could say it's a full-scale model. How's that? So we thank you for that.
Good one, Dave. Yep. And Mr. Acton?
It looks great and meets our criteria.
And Mr. Nixon?
I'm fine.
And I forgot to ask, did you go back to the Board of Health and deal with that layout, or will that be done?
So that'll definitely be done. We did not go back and do it because I think I just learned about it a couple of days ago.
But you will?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, very good. I just didn't want to let that go
Oh, yeah, no, ma'am.
unquestioned. And Paul?
Yeah, I certainly meets our criteria. It's not substantially more detrimental.
And Ginny, did I ask you yet? Yeah, okay then, Paul?
I'll move to approve the application as submitted.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
No conditions, huh, Paul?
No conditions.
I vote yes.
All votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Hey, that's unanimous, congratulations. Now you can sleep at night.
Thank you
Just
so much.
not in the addition.
Yeah. I would actually just like to say, I want to compliment Sarah and Jay with all the questions we had. They were actually great walking us through the process. So we walked in sort of educated and comfortable, which was not common in other towns.
No,
So it was really well done.
not even Winchester? That's where you're from, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, good to know. Yeah,
definitely no.
yeah, good to know. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Sure. All right, we have one more.
Application number 25-075, Galaxy Nominee Trust, care of Michael D. Ford Esquire, P.O. Box 485, West Harwich, Mass. 02671. Owners of property located at 149 Cutch-Pinnicket Road, also shown on the Town of Chatham's Assessor's Map 16K, Block 2, Lot 1. The applicant proposes to change, alter, or expand a non-conforming dwelling on a conforming lot via the partial demolition of the existing dwelling, relocation of the original historic section, and incorporation into the construction of a new dwelling. Also proposed is the installation of a shed 14.2 feet from the road as allowed by special permit under Section 3D3H2. The existing dwelling is non-conforming in that it is located 36.4 feet from the road and 25 feet from the Coastal Conservancy District. The proposed dwelling will be non-conforming in that it will be located 37 feet from the road where a 40-foot setback is required, and 25 feet from the Coastal Conservancy District where a 50-foot setback is required. The existing building coverage is 6.8%, and the proposed building coverage is 7.3%, where 10% is the maximum allowed. The lot contains 68,632 square feet in the R40 zoning district. A special permit is required under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Sections 6 and 9, and Sections 5B and 8D2B of the protective bylaw.
Attorney Ford, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the board. Mike Ford here on behalf of the applicant, along with John Barker from
Welcome.
PSD. PSD is the designer and architect on this, and builder, we anticipate, on this particular project. So first, a little bit of history, why we're here. We've got a very large lot, a conforming lot, an area. It's conforming in frontage. We've got a couple of non-conforming dimensional situations with the house. One, it's non-conforming in terms of the Conservancy District. We've got a deck that's 25 feet where 50 is required. And it's non-conforming in terms of the front yard setback. It's 36 feet where 40 is required. So given the changes that the petitioners would like to make to the house, which Mr. Barker will run you through in a moment, those two require the special permit. Little history, this is the area. Locus is marked in red. We gave you that just to kind of show you it's kind of a unique geographic area where these houses are out on the point. And we've listed those other
houses, because when we get to the criteria, we put together from the assessor's records, gross floor area and coverage and size of those to give you an idea of what the neighborhood is, to kind of judge it as to what was being proposed here in support of our position that we think we fit in with the neighborhood. That said, we had a couple of hurdles to get over before we came to zoning. The first was historic. And if you could show the plan of the house. We had an historic house, I think, in this, here it is, it's number one, but it's really, I think, it's the second number one on the slide list there. There it is, okay. So, flashback to 1920. The tennis court was still there. The tennis court's 100 years old. And you can see by the outfits they were wearing what the age was in that court. And there is a small ball boy running across there. I didn't know whether, Mr. Nixon, you might have some knowledge of who that was. But clearly you weren't one of the ones in the long dresses or outfits there. So, and anyway, a historic tennis court, no doubt. It's got a different surface on it now, but it's still there and still utilized. The petitioners have lived here about 11 years. And the house does need considerable work. It's been kind of built in fits and starts over time. When I went through the Form B and the history of it, the oldest portion was the portion that has this kind of porch, that's a closed-in porch off of this side. You'll see, given the dormer construction on top, that was that barn. And that barn was brought, according to the Form B, from somewhere in the South Shore to this location and placed here. And it was obviously used in conjunction with the tennis court early on and, as an outbuilding. But it was the principal building on the site for many years. And then the house kind of got built around it, got wrapped around it. The current owners, as I say, they've been there for 11 years, had that picture of the barn. They also have a little model of the barn, and they liked that barn look very much. And so they instructed the PSD team, we want to save that. And we know it's all gobbled up with these additions that are around it, but to the extent we can, we'd like to separate it off and use that as kind of the piece to get a new house that they had an idea they wanted to build around it. So we went to historic, and we proposed just that, to try and isolate that piece. Maybe if you go to the next slide, I can kind of, or maybe if you went to the site plan. Let's go back up to the site plan. I'm sorry, Sarah. So the barn gets picked up and gets moved to where it's the dark color is, back towards the road and to the tennis court again. And when Mr. Barker goes through the elevations and so forth, you'll see that we're bringing it back using that same kind of unique dormer structure, and it will be, although it has some living space in it, principally a garage, and will be used in kind of a garage format as an accessory building. But it fits nicely back into that corner of the tennis court where the old barn building used to be. We'll need to stay historic like this, and they like the way the rest of the house fit in around the barn. They like the fact that it was being more isolated. The structures, the porch, and then the structures that were on the north side of it have now been taken off, so it kind of, the historic piece will kind of set by its own and be able to kind of show off that bit of historic look that we're trying to keep there. So that's what drove this development plan, believe it or not. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to save that, and those were the instructions given to PSD, and this is what we came up with for a design. So historic jurisdiction was under the demolition delay bylaw. And clearly we were demolishing a substantial part of the house. The parts of the house, though, we demolished were not that old, but they have a rule that if one portion is over 100 years old, it's all in before them, and we understood that. So we applied for a demolition permit for the rest of the house. with the idea that we'd move the barn piece. That got approved with a finding, which in your record, from Historic, that while the house is a significant historical and architectural house, this change and bringing back the old barn piece will not affect the actual architecture and historic of the piece that really is historic. So we got through Historic. Then we went to Conservation. And we went to Conservation. It's kind of a complicated site. There's floodplain. You'll see it runs along the top of the coastal bank. It's elevation 11, I think. The only thing really in the 0 to 50 for Conservation was the guest house that was approved, that little small guest house. Hopefully you went out to the site and saw it. It's a wonderful little spot over there on that side of the property. There's no changes proposed to be made to that. That was authorized by a special permit issued by this board. And what we did, we changed the configuration within the 0 to 50, but one of the most important things we did was to take the septic system, which was in Conservation's jurisdiction, and we're moving it outside Conservation jurisdiction up towards the road. You can see that up front. So that, together with some removal of a large portion, if you went out there, you saw a lot of invasive species all along that coast that's up there. Conservation encouraged us, and we got into a mitigation commitment, large mitigation commitment at Conservation. And with that, they liked the fact that, led by the septic system getting out of the outer aura, that this plan was one they felt they could live with. So we're on in Conservation after public hearing for September 24th for an order of conditions. So they've pushed it over for an order. So we've gotten by those two, so now we're here with this board. And of course, with this board, given the two-dimensional nonconformities we have, and we still end up with two-dimensional nonconformities at the end of the day, we need your relief. We also may need your relief. There is a shed where the new septic system is. There's an existing shed there that's in the front yard setback, which is 40 feet, and it doesn't meet it. It's 20-something, 25, 26. We're taking that down, and we're putting another shed up over there, and that's still in the setback. And so I think you can handle that in one of two ways. We applied alternatively. We included it under the non-conforming section, change, alter, or pre-existing non-conforming structure, and we argued that we got a shed that's under 100 square feet. Now we're demolishing it. It's in the setback. We're putting another one that's under 100 square feet. It's about 83 square feet in the front yard setback, and we'll make the arguments on those when we get to the plan. The other way you can handle that, and we applied the alternative, is to apply for a straight special permit for that being in the front yard setback. So we applied alternatively for the change of that shed. So with that, let me go to Mr. Barker and have him kind of walk you through what this development plan is that's wrapped around the historic barn portion that will be moved on the site and connected with the new house. John?
All right, so we can start right there, sir. Thank you. So this is the site. We're at the end of Cochapinnacate Road. Cochapinnacate continues down to the beach. So what is perceived as the front entry, the front approach to the building, is the cul-de-sac, but the roadway continues down along the side of the use property, providing a front yard setback to which Attorney Ferd was referring. But if you move forward to the floor plans, these are the existing. We'll move through from lower level up to the second floor. There's a small portion of the existing lower level that's finished. The majority of the current living space resides on the main floor. The outline of the barn is shown with the blue dashed outline and the light blue shading. That barn structure, as Attorney Ford mentioned, is getting lifted, rotated, and relocated on the site. Significant portions of the side elevations have been demolished over the years through various additions, renovations. We're preserving the kind of iconic three shed dormers, the roof lines, the main massing, but the majority of the kind of integrity of the structure has been removed over the years. Continue on to there's some second floor living space. The existing structure does appear, as it actually is, to have been added on to over the years. There's no order or organization. It's happened in pieces and is in need of some attention and some upgrades. We can kind of continue on to, so this is our proposed, the new lower level plan. The new garage structure is the extension to the bottom of the page underneath the garage. We are finishing a significantly larger portion of the lower level with full daylit basement. A good portion of the existing structure does not have basement underneath it, so while we are increasing gross floor area, which I know we'll get to, a good portion of that is here in the lower level. As we move up, we'll see in blue again, the relocated existing structure that becomes the garage, the main living space, with a little bit more, some additional square footage up on the second floor, including the space above the garage and the main living quarters. So we move into the elevations. You can see specifically in this bottom image, which is the northeast elevation, how we have differentiated the kind of aesthetic and articulation of the existing historic barn structure, which is something that the Historic Commission really likes to see, that we've set that off from the new structure while maintaining the characteristics, the 3 shed dormers. You'll also notice that the window patterns, the grill patterns in the historic barn match the 6/6 window configurations of the historic structure, whereas the newly constructed portion of the building incorporate a different window configuration, the 2/2, further kind of differentiating the old from the new. You can continue around to the rear side of the property, where you see the daylit basement as the natural grading slopes down towards the marsh at the rear of the property. I think we included a 3D rendering view from the street, where you see the historic barn structure on the left side of the building. The house has oriented the front entry to the kind of southwest towards the tennis court, and kind of really meets the characteristics, the size, the scale of the neighboring structures on this part of North Chatham.
Thank you, John, and John's certainly available for questions. Unless you wanted to do those now, we could do it when we finish our presentation.
No, we're going to do the usual.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman. So we'll get to the criteria. Before I go there, I should tell you the figures that this board is always interested in and is now part of your application. The gross floor area existing is 5,500, and the proposed gross floor area is 8,600, much of which, as John has indicated, is in the garage. That's this is based on assessors records. These are the properties that were identified on the spit that we went through. A 95 Koch-Pinnicket currently has a building coverage of 2824. Square footage above ground, 4,350, and then a gross floor area of 5,574. 108 Koch-Pinnicket, 4,712 for a footprint, or building coverage, I should say. Square footage above the ground, 7,674, and their gross floor area is 8,784. 138 Kochpinicket, 3,995, and the square footage above ground, 7,159, and again, a gross of over 8,000, 327. 141 Kochpinicket, 5,000 for footprint, 8,274 square footage above ground, and just shy of 10,000 square feet in gross floor area, 9.6. And then 156 is a single-family home. I should have told you that in the last three that I read, most of those are a house and a guest house, and that's how you get to some of those numbers. 156, the most modest house in the area, but certainly part of the neighborhood, has a footprint of 1,880, square footage above grade, 27, and a gross floor area of 35. So that's kind of the outlier in terms of the houses. Immediately adjacent and abutting to the south is 36 Raccoon. That's just one house. It's not multiple houses. That's 3,553 for a footprint. And then a square footage above grade, 6,407, and a gross floor area of, north of 8,000. So it brings it to us. We're 3,698 in terms of building coverage. That's the footprint. And our building coverage is just going up to 3,953. I'll get into those percentages in a minute, but they comply. You're authorized to have 10% here, and we're well under that by 3 percentage points. Square footage above grade currently is 4229, and that will go to 52, 55, and of course that is taking into consideration the guest house we have on the property too, although that's a very modest structure. And then the gross floor area, we end up with the numbers that I started with, 5501, and we go to the 86. But that's kind of how it fits in with the neighborhood in terms of mass and size and neighborhood character. So with that, let me go to the specific criteria. Adequacy of size of the site, including but not limited to maximum lot or building coverage. As I indicated at the outset, the lot is conforming in terms of area. It's over 66,000 square feet. We do have two dimensional nonconformities on the site currently. One is a 36-foot setback from the front yard, and this, of course, as John showed you in that initial aerial, has a very long frontage, very long front yard of over 270 square feet. The front yard will stay about the same. If we can go to the site plan, you'll see a little set of stairs. And if there's is there a clicker up here? Can you point those out, John? So right there's a little set of stairs. We put a note on the plan that we'd keep them under 30 feet, stairs and stoop, in which case they would not count towards a setback. And so we're pretty comfortable this house is going to end up being 41 feet, which is the closest point of the house without those stairs, and actually become conforming in terms of setback. But it was advertised at 37, just in case the stairs and stoop went over 30 feet. Kind of give us if we got out there and we were 31 feet, I know this board does not want to see me back in here with PSD saying, hey, it's only 31 and a half, and we were supposed to be 30. So we're trying very hard to stay away from that. So we've actually come in for the 37, so we're not going to have a problem if that turns out to be 31 feet. But we're comfortable it'll be 30 or under, and you'll really get a setback of 41 feet. So we think we've improved that front yard setback. The existing guest house, of course, is not being touched. That was authorized under a separate special permit. But all these dimensional numbers include the area of the house. The existing shed, which I indicated, is just under 30 feet, where 40 feet is required because it's in the front yard. And that will go same size, 84 square foot shed, as I talked about, will be about 14 feet off the that long frontage that heads up towards the beach. And we think you can authorize that under the special permit under the VB that we've applied for, but we've also applied for a special permit for that on its own if we need it. We still maintain the 25-foot setback in the Conservancy District. You'll see the deck, we're proposed to be 25, the current deck is 25. Given some of the other changes we were making, Conservation did not have a problem with that, and did not have a problem with the fact that it's in that 0 to 50, given other changes that we're making below the bank and getting that septic system up and out, up into the front of the lot, and out of their jurisdiction. So we'd suggest to you respectfully that the site is adequate for the proposed changes, particularly where I didn't mention the building coverage is currently 6.8, and it's going to 7.3 where 10 is allowed. So we're not taking that building coverage up anywhere close to that 10%. Compatibility of the size of the proposed structure. We just went through the chart. We think it's similar in size. And even though gross floor area is not part of your dimensional requirements in the bylaw, we know you want to see that, helps you with mass and so forth. So that's why we put that table together as best we could to show you where it fit with gross floor area. Extent of the proposed increase in nonconforming nature of the structure or use. It stays just about the same in both. Maybe a better story to tell in the front yard setback with the house, particularly if we keep that stairs and stoop under 30 feet. The sheds are really a swap out. They're both 84 square feet. We take down one that's in the front yard and put up one also in the front yard, but it's farther down the roadway. Suitability of the site, including but not limited to impact on neighboring properties or the natural environment, including slopes, vegetation, wetlands, groundwater, water bodies, and stormwater runoff. We've been to Conservation. They worked hard on the plan, gave us some suggestions, and as I indicated, you have a memo from them. They believe it can be properly conditioned. In fact, they've pushed it to September 24th for their issuance of an order of conditions. Impact of scale, siting, and mass on neighborhood visual character, including vistas and views. We think, and maybe if you went back, Sarah, to that 3D elevation, we think it's going to have a pretty good look. We know that as you come in off the driveway now, it's more down in a hole than it is in this one, where we bring the barn around, swing it in. The tennis court's obviously behind the barn on the other side, but we think it has a good streetscape form and fits the visual character of the neighborhood. There's no negative impacts that we're aware of on views and vistas. The proposed use continues to be residential. Brand new septic system going in, as I've indicated, outside the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. We don't think there's any traffic flow or safety. We're not increasing the number of bedrooms. Noise and litter we don't think is an issue, and the utilities are adequate. Formula business is NA, and none of the houses in the floodplain, so it's NA as to the question of impacts of lateral expansion. So we think that you can find that what is proposed is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. There are some letters from abutters I'm sure the chair will make note of or read, depending on her discretion, that are in favor of the proposal from various people in the neighborhood. We think you can do the shed demolishing and putting another one in the front yard setback under that VB special permit. In the event that you feel you can't, we've applied alternatively on that for a special permit. We're suggesting that of the criteria in that section that apply, that the shed in the front yard being removed and another one being put in there, we think you can find it's adequate and suitable and otherwise meets the requirements for a special permit under Section 8D24 of the protected bylaw. So, Madam Chairman, that would be our presentation. We're happy to take questions.
Yep, thank you so much. Is there anybody here on Microsoft Teams that wishes to speak in favor of this application? In favor? Seeing none. Yes, we have 4 letters from abutters, or people in favor, and 3 from staff for the town of Chatham. First one, as usual, Judith Biggio tells us on 9/10/2025 that she reviewed the plan to demolish, rebuild, and relocate the barn into the new construction at this property. The proposed dwelling has 5 bedrooms, plus an existing 1-bedroom guest house. The property was restricted to 6 bedrooms by deed. The septic system must be relocated to accommodate the proposed dwelling. Plans must be submitted for review and permit approval to the Health Department. Should you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Then we have a note from Christina Bassett, the Historical Commission, and they found the home to be historically significant, but the proposed changes do not materially diminish its significance, so therefore they did not impose a demolition delay, and we received that on September 8th, 2025. Next, we have a note from, oh yeah, I knew we were missing conservation, yes. So conservation tells us on August 26, 2025, that they heard the project in August and September, and they will condition it to meet the performance standards under the Wetlands Protection Act on September 24th, 2025. Then Mark Sperry tells us that he has a house on 118 Koch-Pinnicket Road, located at the corner, a few houses up from Lisa and Shep Perkins' home at 149. The Perkins recently reached out to him and other neighbors to discuss the plan, and they are in support of the plans, and the design fits well with homes in the neighborhood. And given the large scope of the building project and possibly taking over 2 years to complete, he asks that the construction vehicles and crew vehicles do not park on or along our empty lot across from our home at 118 during construction. Please give special consideration and attention during the business summer months to this dangerous corner, since there's a lot of coming and going to the town landing. The road leading up to this corner needs to remain 2-lane. Many families with children, strollers, walkers with dogs, bikers, etc. enjoy this scenic beauty and access to the town landing. Then we have a note from Greg Zymak, and he says that he's writing in support of the proposed renovation and addition at 149 Koch-Pinnicket. After reviewing the plans, they believe that the project was thoughtful, and the project appears to maintain his standard, blending well with the scale and style of homes on that street. Proposed improvements will not only benefit the Perkins family, but also contribute positively to the overall streetscape and long-term vitality of the neighborhoods, and they urge us to approve the application. Don and Michelle Abruzzese write on September 9th, 2025, that they own a home at 138 Koch-Pinnicket, across the street from Lisa and Shep Perkins, and they also state that the Perkins reached out to them. They flipped through the architectural designs, highlighting the slight changes in the footprint and multiple elevations, including a finished walkout basement. They support the plans. The design fits well. They believe the new home will be a great addition. It's in good taste, so they support it. And I think that, oh, wait a minute, one more. On September 9th, 2025, we have a note from Catherine and Robert Boyd. They have resided at 156 Koch-Pinnicket for 27 years or so, across the street from Lisa and Shep. They understand that there's a plan to tear down a significant portion of their existing home and build a new one. They have been kind enough to reach out, share the plans, floor plans, to build a new home on their property. They know that this couple has also communicated with other neighbors. They're supportive of the intentions and plans for the site. The design is in keeping with many of the newer homes in our neighborhood in terms of construction quality, aesthetics, and scale. We believe the approval of this design will make our community more desirable and will help support the home values of other residents. That concludes the correspondences. Is there anybody here or on Microsoft Teams that has a question or wishes to speak against this application? Yes, ma'am, please, if you have a question, you have to go up to the podium. They'll move out of the way so they don't intimidate you. Yeah, this is questions and speaking against.
Pardon me?
This would be a time for questions to us or speaking against the application.
I have a question.
Please.
What is the elevation of this house? the height? What is the highest point of this house? I'm Mary Walsh. I live at 95 Koch-Pinnicket.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. I forgot to ask you to identify yourself, so thank you for doing that.
I've been there for 38 years.
Very good, very good.
The site plan indicates the building height is 28 feet, 4 inches from average grade.
20, did you hear that, ma'am?
The new one? Yes. And what is the old one?
Sarah, the site plans show ridge elevation existing, 44.5. Ridge elevation proposed, 48.8. So that's about 4 feet higher.
4 feet higher, ma'am. And when you hear 40s, that's not the height, that's another kind
New
of
one is-
term.
The proposed is 28 feet, and what is the old? 24. So it's going to be higher. 24.9. Okay, well, I heard people earlier talking about views and vistas. That's my concern.
Sure, sure.
Historically, I've had a magnificent view down to the waterfront. The current owners have taken that away because they put up 25-foot trees. So I'm just considering what's going to happen to me in the future. You know, a view in that neighborhood up down to the waterfront and on up into the harbor is, you know, it's $1 million view.
It is, yeah.
So I'd like to see, if you don't mind,
This would be questions for us more, and then we'll address them.
I would like to see the proposed house as it sits on the whole plot. I can't quite visualize where it is compared to where the existing house is.
We'll do the best we can to put that up in a moment, and then you'll be able to see better. I know we go fast and it's confusing, no doubt.
Madam Chairman, can we?
Sure.
Site plan, it's got the old house and the new.
Yep, you have to be at the, please go over to the mics, whoever's talking. I got knocked at, so.
I don't,
So, if I may, the existing structure is shown here in this red outline.
yeah.
And then our proposed structure is shown in the black. So the view from the street, we're maintaining the same setback from the property line. And the view coming this direction, we're actually getting a little bit tighter. But we're for the most part, building within the existing footprint. There's quite a bit of overlap between the two structures. We're just rotating the orientation of the house.
So,
If this is the edge of the cul-de-sac at
Yeah.
the street, and this is where Kochepinnicket continues down to the beachway. As you look down the driveway currently, the existing house here in red is, the new house is, for the most part, right on top of where the existing house is currently today. So we're not impinging on any view corridors to the side from the streetway, nor are we impinging further to the south. We were conscious about trying to keep the proposed house in the same location as the existing house, but just rotating the axis to be a little bit more towards the marsh, counterclockwise.
I see, that way.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that satisfy your questions, miss? Yeah,
Would you like to have that?
I would, thank you.
Yeah, sure, you can have that.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so where were we? We are at, is anybody else here to speak against or online or has a specific question? No. Okay, so any rebuttal that you have at this point?
Well, there really wasn't an objection.
No,
It was a question.
no, yep.
We tried our best to be responsive to it, so she has the plan with both of them now, so.
Yeah, I just want to give you the opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. So questions from the board? Ginny?
I don't have any questions.
Steve?
I guess the question I have is that the thing that's causing the setback issue to the top of the bank is the deck, primarily. And it looks like the one corner of the house is moving about 5 feet closer to the top of the bank, but the majority of the house is and will be within the 50 to 100 foot
Exactly, right,
measurements.
right. There's less house in the 0 to 50 now,
And the septic is moving, so
and the
that's,
septic's getting out of
and
it.
that's even better. Okay. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Paul
I have no questions.
and David Nixon.
When I'm looking at your plans, it refers to a reproduction barn portion, whereas the conversation, I got the impression that the old barn was going to be moved. So,
It is, and we were very clear with the Historic Commission that some of it will need to be replaced. Some of it still has good beams that will be saved as part of the structure. But all of what you see in the, maybe we put the picture back up of the house or something, none of that is historic, those exterior materials. So they'll come off. We're actually putting new windows in to go back to the old windows that match the barn, the 6/6s that you saw in the original picture. Trying to make it more like that. So yes, there will be a lot of new material on that, but that shell and that size is going to stay that same form.
when I look at the plans that you provide us with, and it's hard for me without a model. We're talking about it easier, but anyway, and I know models cost a lot of money, but it's really, really helpful. So I'm looking at what is called the elevation southeast proposed and all that. So I see 2/3 of it has shutters, and then the other portion doesn't, but it says it's because it's the barn. And it looks like it's different materials, maybe 3 different materials, so, it's just kind of confusing, and, you know, it's got nothing to do with what you want, so.
Well, we were encouraged to do that so that the historic portion of the old barn would be kind of set off and would look different, and people could pick up the image of what the historic piece is. So they encourage you to make a differentiation between the rest of the house and the historic piece.
Okay. Well, anyway, okay.
Okay, Ed, questions?
No, I don't really have any, well, did you actually do any, like, exploratory work into seeing of what's actually left of that barn? Because I'll be surprised if there's much left of it.
We have not done any partial demolition or open things up. We are able to tell, Sarah, if you could go back to the photograph towards the front. Doesn't show well here, but the right-hand side, all of the exterior wall of the existing barn has been removed and opened up to be part of the current house when this addition was added. So a lot of this material on the right-hand side of the barn has already been removed. And similarly, a lot of the lower material of the barn at the exterior wall was removed with the addition on the left-hand side, so the kind of what was below. So we alluded to a couple times the three dormers and the roof line, which is really the portion of the original barn that remains and is in good standing, along with parts of the front elevation, which has been completely reworked. There's now 2 windows in the center. The large barn door has been removed and replaced with new windows. So there is some historic bones to the structure, if you will, but a good majority of the historic material has already been lost. So it was our intention to preserve as much as is practical at this point.
So we kind of worked out a protocol with historic, So they'll be involved, and as will the building commissioners, so.
Yeah,
As we go
it'll
forward.
be interesting to see what there actually is there to lift.
Yeah, once we get it up in the air and start to push it over, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Hopefully, they'll find some tennis balls from the 1920s.
Yeah, right. They might be a little crusty by now. But, well, just to follow a little further, so you haven't really explored whether it's has post and beam or stick framing or that even. So you can tell from exterior materials that have been changed, but you haven't really seen the bones of it yet either.
Not really.
So, I mean, if it's stick framed, there's probably not a lot to move, actually, by the time you're done. But I've seen projects that the Historical Commission has approved, and by the time they were done, there was not much left, but the intent is there and the lines are still there, so.
They
just
were
find out.
insistent on obviously keeping the architectural form of the roof and those special dormers, and that's what they wanted to really
Right.
have us project.
Yeah.
So.
And Ginny had a question.
Yeah, I actually hadn't noticed that word reproduction on this site plan that Mr. Nixon brought up. And Mr. Ford, you said they, is that historic you're referring to when you say they asked for that offset?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's who asked for it.
Well, our clients wanted that barn section saved. That was the
Right.
direction they gave the architects to start with.
Right.
But in terms of the offset, yes.
Of
That's
material.
That's, my experience with these, when you've got a piece that's left of an historic structure, they do want you to kind of separate it out so that one can see it, see the historic lines, see the architecture that was there, so that it isn't simply buried within the middle of the house or something and you don't see it.
So let's go back to the reproduction for a second, and then I'll tell you my opinion of that. So in the original old picture, so charming.
Yes.
The shed dormers look so long, right? That's really special. And in the picture that you have, which I know is just a rendering, they're shorter. So like when you say you're redoing it, are we gonna lose, like, do you see how they go almost to the roof line, that shed dormer on the original?
Yes.
And that's obviously the original too.
Well, this is the current.
Well, that's
here
the
to
current,
left.
right, but that's, I mean, that part hasn't been changed. I mean, right, it's.
I think it's substantially similar, yes.
Yes, okay. And I think that's what's kind of historic, and obviously, and when I went to the site, the first thing I said to Mr. Nixon, we did the site visit together, was, oh my God, I love this part of the house, you know? So I do applaud saving that, but now that I'm looking at this, and I understand this is just a rendering, are you really gonna take that roof line and it will be that old roof line and not this one?
Yes, we're
Okay.
gonna be picking up the structure.
Okay, so you're not
moving
like.
it. We're not rebuilding anything.
Okay, that's, because, and then just my opinion, this is clearly historic's purview, not ours, we're zoning. But that to me is a much more contemporary facing, and I think the opposite, I think it should, I mean, it is not being, to Mr. Ford, your point, it's not being in the middle of the house. It's clearly being saved, I applaud everyone for saving it, but I don't like how it's separate in color, just my opinion.
Okay.
All right, and as far as the parking during construction, it abuts the town landing. I just wanted to bring that up, so you're aware of that when we get to conditions.
We're aware of that,
Yeah, it's tough.
and we're aware of the concerns, at least
Right.
articulated in one abutter letter.
Right,
Yes.
right. Okay, very good. So, Paul?
I'll move to close the hearing and move into deliberations.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All votes yes?
Ginny votes yes.
Very good. So deliberations. Dave Veach?
Well, I think it's a great project. It's going to be a real improvement over what's there in many, many, many respects, and I applaud working to save the old barn and as much as can be saved. So it's a really good project, certainly. There's no substantial detriment of any kind here. And it meets that criteria, and I will support it.
All right, very good. Steve?
Well, I'm certainly glad to see that you're gonna attempt to save as much as you can of that barn. I have to say that it was difficult to discern what was the barn when I got there, because it's been so overbuilt. Right. But the picture that you had sort of validated what I thought you were talking about. I think it's a good project. I don't think it's going to be detrimental to anyone, and the fact that you're trying to save some history it goes a long way. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And Ginny?
So, thank you for saving the barn. I think that the shed dormers are exceptional and very special. Also, Mr. Ford, I want to thank you for noting the number differences. I did pick up on those as well. The setbacks said 31, 37, and I just thought, so that was helpful. I was going to ask about that. I noticed them and that they didn't match, and your summary was very thorough. So I do think it meets all of our criteria, and I am supportive of the project.
All right, very good. Ed?
It's, it's certainly a very large house, but when you look at that neighborhood, it consists of large lots and large houses, so I believe it'll fit in and certainly won't be detrimental, and it's a beautiful street, and at first it will be noticed, but I believe eventually it'll just blend in beautifully with the rest of the neighborhood.
Yeah, and Mr. Nixon?
Well, it's a spectacular lot, and now that I understand what you're doing with the house, I'm all for it. I was quite enamored with the guest house, I must say.
Yeah.
Just peeking in the window and walking around, I said, wow, this is what a guest house should be.
Yes, exactly. I think what
So-
they call it, the hen house?
Oh, the hen house.
Call it the hen house.
Yes, that's right, it said that on it, yeah.
Right,
I don't know why, we don't want to know why, right?
All right.
So, at any rate, great job.
All right, Paul?
I agree with my colleagues. It's certainly a spectacular location and spectacular redo. And that tennis court is in fantastic shape. It really looks beautiful. But in any case, I think it certainly is not going to be substantially more detrimental. And I think we can probably handle this as one motion dealing with the non-conforming dwelling and the shed,
Right.
if that makes sense. So do you have any comments that you wanted to?
No, I think that it would be really hard to think of this anything but a good project.
I'll move to approve the application as submitted with our standard conditions with respect to the summer restrictions. That all construction activity and vehicles shall be contained on site or at neighboring property with the permission of the property owner. Between June 30th and Labor Day, no exterior construction will be allowed. No work shall be permitted on the weekends, and construction activity between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. only. And that this would be approval for the existing non-conforming dwelling renovations and the shed.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed votes yes.
I vote yes.
All vote yes.
Ginny votes yes.
Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yep, nice job, and good luck. So, it's that time. Motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Dave Veach seconds and votes yes.
Ed, yes?
Ed votes yes.
Yes.
All vote yes.
Steve votes yes.
Ginny votes yes.
As do I, and what time is it?
5:20 PM.
All right. Good night, Chatham. Thank you, everyone.